Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Marvel. Luck Seizing System, Dominate the Universe. Chapter 21. Thank you then. Peter smiled playfully. Thank you everyone for bringing your eyes. But I hope everyone also wears their ears. He said. The next thing I want to say. He looked solemn, then walked off the podium and walked towards Mary's seat. Every step seems to touch people's hearts. Like an energy source full of light and heat. The eyes of the students moved together with his footsteps. Mary met Peter's gaze, and her heartbeat suddenly accelerated. Every step Peter took seemed to step on the rhythm of her heartbeat. She seemed to have a feeling that what Peter was about to say was related to her. Peter finally came to Mary. He bowed slightly and looked at Mary's gradually turning red face with burning eyes. Mary and I are neighbors. I have liked her since elementary school. Of course, it was a secret love. I often, obscenely, follow Mary. I just feel that it is a very happy thing to see her back. But in fact, I dare not express my feelings in front of her, because I inferior self-esteem, lack of courage, shyness and cowardice. But now, I have to express everything that's on my mind. Yes, Mary, I like you. He looked at Mary seriously. Can you be my girlfriend? Mary was at her wit's end. She pursed her lips and lowered her head. The expression on her face changed, and finally whispered, Sorry Peter, we may not be suitable. You may not be my type. We are just friends, sorry. When Peter heard this, the expression on his face moved slightly, and then he showed a look of regret. I should have known this earlier. You are very smart, and you must know my secret love for you, but you never expressed it. I just think regret, maybe first love always makes people regretful. Well, I just feel lucky, or I want to have an end to my first love. Sorry to bother you. He was not depressed. As he said himself, if he doesn't express his true feelings, he will hold it back and regret it. But now, after being rejected, he suddenly felt relieved. Then he turned around and bowed to the bald teacher. I'm sorry, sir, for taking up your time. The bald teacher smiled and shrugged. The other half of life must be more important than me, isn't it? He laughed. I'm happy to see your new look, Peter. Thanks. Then, go back to your seat. The expression on the bald teacher's face was like the weather in June, changing at any time. If you delay my time again, I will tell the principal. Peter stuck out his tongue and quickly returned to his seat. Peter, has something happened to you? Harry, who was sitting in the front seat, secretly said, You seem to have changed. And man, Mary is already my girlfriend. You are poaching. Yes. Unethical. Peter smiled secretly. I know, but man, I had a crush on her first. Some people should be quiet. The bald teacher's eyes were like knives, making people stay silent. Peter and Harry quickly sat upright. Peter's change was not beyond Zhao Yu's expectation. When people have something, change happens. Whether it's money, strength, or power, once you have it, your mentality will be different. The cowardly people have courage, and the inferior people have self-confidence. It just depends on whether you have something to rely on. Whether it is some novels written by Zhao Yu before his time travel or folk stories, those peerless masters or hermits and immortals are very cautious when looking for their successors. Because they know that people who gain power will change. The so-called Tao should not be taught lightly. In addition to the mystery of the Tao, it is also precious and precious. This is another reason. Or choose someone who is pure in nature and has an innocent heart. Or choose someone who is indifferent and not disturbed by external things. All this is done so that the power will not be abused and that the power will not deteriorate in the next generation. Hence the doctrine. As a core idea, it guides the inheritance of power. Many people say that there are disadvantages in this aspect due to sectarian views. But more for that. Peter's changes were brought about by Zhao Yu single-handedly, and every change was like looking at lines on the palm of his hand. Therefore, it made him think more. Maybe he did have his own mission when he came to this world. Because this universe does not have a sound power system. Those who gained strength unexpectedly could not see the way forward, there was no possibility of going further, so they looked down. He wants to rule the world and destroy the world at every turn. They feel that their behavior is in line with the Tao, but in fact, they have not even set foot on the Tao, so what qualifications do they have to say that their behavior is in line with the Tao? Immortal inheritance is an extremely complete evolutionary system. Those who exercise their bodies know that they must refine chi next, those who refine chi know that they must transform into gods next, and those who transform gods know that they must return to the void next, then become immortals, and then become saints. They have clear goals. Wherever they go, they are looking up, not down. Coupled with the guidance of the doctrine, the immortal monks have an ideological criterion, which becomes the universal view of the immortal monks, which is in line with the laws of the development of the world and the operation of the Great Road, so it is a complete system. Not in this world. Zhao Yu thought to himself that maybe he was born to be the Taoist ancestor of this world. Preach and teach, guide the direction. Of course, one must also be selective when preaching and teaching. The so-called Dharma is not taught to the 6 ears. Those who have no Tao foundation and Tao nature are not qualified. Peter cannot say that he has a profound moral foundation. It is still early, but in Zhao Yu's eyes, he was still qualified. In fact, throughout the life of Spider-Man in the comics, apart from being a little negative when encountering mental obstacles, most of the time he insisted on being a superhero. He did not use his spider powers to illegally obtain money or gain benefits, but stick to the original intention, do good deeds and work part-time at the same time, and live a tight life. Many people find it a bit unbelievable, but Zhao Yu said that this is already a pure heart. In the past 2 days, Zhao Yu had sensed that he was about to break through the first refinement of the chaos real body, so he gave Peter 2 days off. After driving Peter away, he closed the door, his mind went straight to the dark world, and he wandered into the world. After school, Peter was carrying his backpack and preparing to go home. As soon as he arrived at the school gate, he was stopped. Looking back, he showed a sunny smile. "Classmate Jessica, are you okay?" It's Jessica Jones, Mary's deskmate. Also a beautiful girl. But in the past, Peter's eyes were always on Mary, ignoring the beautiful scenery around him. Now that Mary is a thing of the past, he has just discovered that the beautiful scenery in the school is incredible. Peter. Jessica walked over happily, smiled sweetly, and locked her brown eyes on Peter. "We have a holiday tomorrow and we plan to go on an outing. What about you? Who is there?" Peter looked interested. "Tomorrow is September 1st, the National Statutory Labor Day, so we have a holiday." If it had been the past, he would have fled. But not anymore. Harry, Mary. Jessica counted out 5 or 6 people on her fingers, all of whom were classmates, and finally said, "Of course, there are me, and you." "Okay." Peter shrugged. "Why not? Then, at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, in front of the school." Jessica said and left. "See you there or not." "See you there or not." Looking at Jessica's graceful back, Peter touched his nose and laughed. "Is my luck about to come?" Back home, Peter threw down his school bag. "Uncle, I'm going to practice outside for a while. Call me if you need anything." Ben was sitting on the sofa reading the newspaper. Hearing this, he raised his head and glanced at Peter. "Go, you'd better go find Mary, you brat." Peter's laughter came faintly from outside the house. May came out with coffee and said with some worry, "I found that Peter has changed a lot recently, Ben, this may be." "That's what I'd like to see." Ben put down the newspaper, looked at his wife and said, "Peter used to worry me a lot. He was shy, had low self-esteem, and didn't dare to communicate with others. I'm worried that he will have difficulties in the future. You know, in this society, interpersonal communication is very important." After a pause, he continued, "The current Peter is what I like. He is sunny and energetic, full of young people's passion and dreams. Isn't this good? We should be proud of him." "But Ben," May looked at the door and said, "haven't you noticed that Peter has powers that ordinary people don't have? He can break a thigh-thick tree with one punch. I saw it with my own eyes yesterday morning. Yes. What if I use it to hit someone?" Ben laughed. "Dear, you only see the power, not the person. Peter was raised by us, don't you know what kind of person he is? I believe that even if my Peter has more, even if you are powerful, you won't do bad things, that's enough." "No, Ben, you didn't understand what I meant." May gestured. "I mean, what kind of person was the person who taught Peter how to practice? He could give Peter such power." Ben looked at his wife, extremely serious, and nodded for a long time. "Your worries are not unreasonable, but I still want to say that you are overthinking. If he is a bad person, Peter may not be sunny and energetic now. I will learn more about it from Peter. However, their strength comes from their hard work and practice, which is accumulated bit by bit. Just like our labor, there is no shortcut. In the process of cultivation, it is a process of persistence and testing. If you are not pure enough and your mind is not firm enough, there will be no achievements. I think this method is very good. Things obtained through hard work often make people cherish and be more cautious. And aren't there us? Okay. May spread her hands and smiled. Maybe you were right. You know, Peter is often bullied. Ben nodded, and then sighed slightly, but we are just an ordinary family and cannot give him a strong backing. I see him with a black nose and swollen eyes, and I often feel heartache. This also deepens his low self-esteem. But there is nothing I can do. But now, Peter can protect himself. Dear, we must be happy. Perhaps we should visit Peter's rich man, May suggested. Of course, you can choose a time. Ben nodded. Peter is a good boy. The concept that Zhao Yu instilled in him told him that cultivation is not a shameful thing. Although there is no need to show off your strength in public. But when you are practicing, there is no need to hide it from those close to you. Therefore, more than 10 days ago, when he first started practicing with Zhao Yu, Peter honestly explained this matter to his uncle and aunt. After all, I have to go to the farm for 3 hours after school every day. If I don't explain it to my uncle and aunt, they will be worried. At first, Ben and May thought Peter was just exercising, just like karate and taekwondo, for physical exercise. They were happy to see that Peter was too thin. But as time passed and Peter's cultivation deepened, some things that were different from ordinary people began to show up. Ben had discovered it a long time ago, so he made a special trip to get to know Peter. Only then did he realize that Peter had embarked on an unusual path. He even knew that what Peter had now was only a very basic thing. Breaking a big tree with one punch is only a trivial matter. Although Peter didn't quite understand what his future path would be, he was constantly being deceived around Zhao Yu, and he also knew bits and pieces about the creation of the world and the destruction of the world. Of course, he didn't dare mention this to his uncle and aunt. It's incredible. He didn't even believe it himself. I just want to tell my uncle and aunt that the path he is on now is a path of perseverance and great achievements. Ben felt relieved when he learned that this path required a little bit of effort. He feels that things that can be obtained without effort are unreliable, but things that require huge efforts to obtain are normal. And he believed in his teachings to Peter and in the boy's goodness. Before dawn the next day, Peter got up and practiced in the yard outside the house for 2 hours. After breakfast, he said goodbye to his uncle and aunt, put on the backpack he had prepared last night, got on his bicycle, and headed towards the school. Arriving at the school gate, Harry's sports car arrived soon after. Looking at Mary getting out of the car with Harry, Peter guessed that they must have been together last night, but there was no wave in his heart. He has let it go. Hey man, you're so early. Harry punched Peter and gave him a hug. The three of them chatted casually. There was nothing embarrassing about Peter, and neither was Harry. It's just that in Mary's case, it's less. Not long after, Jessica and others also arrived one after another. 3 cars and 8 people headed straight to the city. What are your plans for today? Peter and Jessica sat in the back seat, with Harry and Mary in front. Are we going to the city now? Harry nodded. I will take everyone to visit the Osborne mansion first, and then have a good meal. In the afternoon we will have a picnic by the Hudson River and spend a wonderful night in the wild. We will go back tomorrow. Good, very good arrangement. Peter smiled. In the car, rock music with a strong rhythm played, and the boys and girls hummed and chatted casually as they headed straight to the city. Jessica's eyes were always on Peter. Mary saw all this through the rearview mirror and always felt a little weird in her heart. It's like a toy that should belong to you is about to change hands now, which is a weird feeling. Harry said something from time to time, finding many topics to attract her attention. In the back seat, Jessica chatted with Peter. She was very close, almost leaning on Peter, which made Peter feel a little uncomfortable even though he was a little excited. After all, this kid is still a little virgin. Peter, Jessica looked sideways at Peter, her eyes twitching. Your change is like a turn, and we don't seem to have time to react. Blake went to the hospital for 2 days, although nothing was found. Question. I'm curious, what's the reason for this? Has he been to the hospital for a checkup? I am sensible and will not hurt him. Well, you know, he is actually just a child. Peter scratched his hair. Child, Jessica covered her mouth and laughed. I don't think you are older than him. It's just a way of saying it. Peter gestured. I think he is very childish. He uses bullying to show his strength, just like a child. Oh, that's right, Jessica agreed and complained. When I saw him bullying others, I felt very scared, for fear that he would come to me for trouble. Now it's better, he's like a wolf with its tail between its legs. But Peter, you haven't told me what caused you to change like this. I'm very curious. She felt there was a mystery about Peter that she desperately wanted to understand. These words also attracted Harry and Mary in the front row. Harry said, I'm curious too. Peter thought about it and felt that there was nothing hard to say, so he said, do you still remember that day? It was 17 days ago, 17 days ago. Let me tell you, I saw an extraordinary person. The punch punched a hole in the tree. Let me think about it. Harry thought for a while and then remembered. You said it was in the woods outside the school, but we didn't believe it. Yes, you all don't believe it. You think I'm sensationalizing. Peter shrugged. But that's the truth. In order to make everyone believe me, I took my camera and hid in the woods early the next day. You want to film it? What if that person doesn't come? I was worried too. Peter smiled. Fortunately, he is here. I thought I hid it well, but he found me when he walked into the woods. Maybe he knew it before he walked into the woods. I was in there. He told me to come out. How did he find you? The other three were very curious. I'm not sure, it's a feeling. I probably feel the same now, although it's not strong yet. But if there is some danger or special gaze, it will make me alert. I think that's how Xifu discovered at that time mine. Is he rich? Yes, I became a disciple. It's similar to a teacher, but one step further than a teacher. Xifu said that he is also a teacher and a father. He is both a teacher and a father. Anyway, I don't quite understand. But he is very good to me, although he often slap me on the back of the head. Several people laughed. I thought about it for 2 days and then went to find him. He lived on a farm not far from the school. The farm was his and he was the only one on it. He walked very fast. I clearly saw him walking like us, but I couldn't catch up no matter how I ran. He took me to his villa and taught me a boxing technique. As you can see, my current changes are directly related to Shifu. I think this is my luck. If I hadn't met Shifu, I might still be the thin, cowardly little guy with low self-esteem. Listening to Peter's narration, several people had their own thoughts, but they were all moved. Harry couldn't help but said, Peter, do you think we can become apprentices? It's interesting, isn't it? You have changed all of a sudden, become so extraordinary. I don't know. Peter spread his hands and said, Master said that practicing boxing requires talent. He said that I have talent, but I don't know if you have it. Master can tell, but I can't. You can go and try. Jessica interjected. Peter, if possible, can you take us there? Peter was a little embarrassed and thought for a moment. Okay, Master, let me have 2 days off, the day after tomorrow. I will take you there after school in the afternoon. I like this bustling. Mary looked at the steel jungle with tall buildings and said passionately, everything in the suburbs makes me tired. I want to be the most dazzling star in this city. Mary's dream is to become a big star. She prefers the prosperity of high-rise buildings, and has a rejection of the natural instinct of the suburbs and countryside. The other three had nothing to say about this. Harry didn't care. With his status and background, it was not difficult to turn his girlfriend into a big star. And Peter didn't know what to say. He feels that the suburbs and countryside are actually not bad. Jessica had no opinion. We're here, Harry said suddenly. Through the car window, a 100-story building shone brightly in the sun, the Osborne Tower. Mary looked honored. This was the property of her boyfriend's family, and at this moment, it seemed to belong to her. Not to mention how to visit the Osborne building. When they came out of the building, even Peter looked very satisfied. For Peter, especially some high-tech laboratories, he is very interested. Then, Harry took them to a hotel in the bustling area, famous for its delicious food. Young people always like to be lively, and they enjoy delicious food in the restaurant on the ground floor. Outside the transparent glass windows is the bustling street, but inside it seems very quiet. No one will speak loudly during the lyrical music. This is a kind of forced cultivation. It makes young people feel a little uncomfortable. They prefer to show off their youthful self. While eating, suddenly, Peter, who was sitting facing the street, stood up. The other students who were chatting while eating were stunned by him. "What's wrong, Peter?" "There's a riot outside." Peter frowned. Everyone looked back, and sure enough, there was a commotion on the street outside. If it weren't for the soundproof glass, maybe you could hear screaming and noise right now. Many cars were forced to stop, and countless pedestrians fled in all directions. On the street, 70 or 80 people each held some baseball bats, iron bars and the like a tide, knocking the windows of cars wherever they passed, of crushing. Pedestrians who were running slowly were also hit by fish in the pond. Many people were beaten to the ground with bruises and bleeding and fell to the ground wailing. An armed march. Harry couldn't help but wonder. The commotion outside attracted everyone's attention. Someone called the lobby manager to inquire, but the manager was sweating profusely and didn't know what happened. Peter pondered for a moment and said, "Everyone, wait here for a while, I'll go out and take a look." "Don't." Jessica grabbed him. "This is a matter for the police." Peter shook his head. "Those people are injured and they need help." He looked at Jessica seriously, broke away from her hand, moved his steps, and went out in a few flashes. "Oh God." Jessica couldn't accept it. "He broke away from me. It's so dangerous outside, there are so many people." Harry was the calmest. "Peter is different from us now. He has the ability to help others. Guys, I think we should also do something within our capabilities." He stood up. "Those injured must be treated and protected. Mary, you call the emergency number immediately. The others follow me. We will send the injured inside for protection first. It's too chaotic outside." Jessica was at a loss as she watched her classmates walk out under the leadership of Harry. Had no choice but to follow. Peter dodged out and faced an iron rod flying towards him. He grabbed it as if on reflex. Looking at the rioting crowd swarming towards the hotel door, he frowned and shouted, Hey, stop." He threw down the iron rod and opened his arms. "If there is a march, I hope everyone can calm down. The government will give everyone a reasonable explanation." No one answered him. Those people rushed up in groups, picked up sticks and hit them on the head. Peter was a little confused, but felt that he couldn't get out of the way. If these people were allowed to rush into the hotel, Harry and the others would not be able to guarantee their safety, and the guests in the hotel would also be threatened. As a last resort, he began to fight back. Just use his fists. He was very fast and extremely flexible, and his punches and kicks went straight to the rioters' legs, arms and other non-vital places. He tried his best to restrain his strength, just to knock them down instead of injuring them. At the same time, they had to protect the panicked crowd who was forced to the door of the hotel. But the rioters seemed to be fearless. They ignored Peter's fists and kicks, and even if they were knocked to the ground, they would give him a blow. After a while, Peter was beaten several times. This is called beating the master to death with random punches. Peter had scruples and did not want to hurt anyone. But those people have no scruples and are not afraid of being hurt. One was ebbing and the other was escalating, and Peter was forced to retreat step by step. "Come into the hotel quickly," Peter shouted to the affected crowd. "I blocked the door." The area was too large for him to take full care of. Only by blocking the door could he stop the bad behavior of these rioters. "Peter, knock them out." Harry ran out with his classmates. "These people should be controlled. It will have no effect if we don't knock them unconscious. Stop them and let's rescue the injured." Harry's status determines his understanding of some unusual things in this world. He figured out what was going on faster than Peter. When Peter heard this, he realized that each of these rioters looked ferocious, but their eyes were dull, like marionettes. He gritted his teeth and finally decided to use a little more force. Thank you, you are all good children." Harry and others helped the injured outside and placed them one by one. Everyone thanked them, sincerely thanking these children who are still high school students. The lobby manager also helped with the waiters, and Harry apologized deeply. "Sorry, the lobby was dirty." No, the lobby manager shook his head quickly, gave a thumbs up and said, "You are all good." I have decided that your consumption today will be free of charge. Thanks. Harry smiled slightly. At this time, the riot outside finally subsided. 70 or 80 rioters were all knocked unconscious by Peter. The price was that Peter was in a state of disarray. He couldn't even count how many sticks he had received. If his body had not been strong enough to surpass the level of ordinary people, his physical strength was vast, and his boxing skills were not mysterious, he would have fallen long ago. But even so, he felt that he had no strength left. He has only been practicing for half a month. Peter gasped and stood in the crowd of people, looked around, and finally picked up a low-quality leaflet from the ground, looked at it carefully, frowned and walked into the hotel. Hero. People looked at this staggering young man with a bloody head, black nose and swollen eyes. Someone suddenly shouted loudly, "Hero! Hero! Well done!" Peter was stunned for a moment, and then he felt a huge sense of happiness and accomplishment, as if he had found his goal in life. He scratched his hair stupidly, and there was a trace of an embarrassed smile on his face that was no longer human. This bruised face became so cute at this moment, and people looked at him with ardent eyes, admiration and enthusiasm. He lowered his head. That's what I should do. The police finally arrived. The police always arrive last, that's the rule. The policemen were frightened as they looked at the scattered people lying on the ground. They are all dead. The police sergeant leading the team couldn't help but shuddered. Quickly, seal off the venue and look for witnesses. After giving the order, the sergeant squatted down, put his finger on the nose of a corpse to test it, and then exhaled a long breath. He just passed out. Guys, check to see if they're all unconscious. At this time, Peter and Harry, who had a bruised nose and eyes, came out, as well as the hotel lobby manager and some guests. They were just unconscious. Seeing the police's actions, Peter couldn't help but said, "I acted in a measured manner and didn't hurt anyone." "It's you." The sergeant stood up and looked at Peter and his group with a careful look. "Who are you? What happened here?" Harry stopped Peter, took a step forward, and said sternly, "Mr. Sheriff, you are here too late. All of our lives are threatened, and when we are longing for safety, there is no sign of you." The sergeant's face darkened. "Sorry, we need reaction time. Now, boy, can you tell me what is going on? You should be witnesses." "Yes, we are witnesses, and we are also the heroes who participated in quelling the riots," Harry said. "I am Harry Osborne, a high school student, we are all. Today I took my classmates to visit Austria after arriving at the S.H.I.E.L.D. building. We came here to have dinner. But there was a riot outside." He gave way to Peter. "It was this classmate of mine who quelled the riot. He suffered a lot of injuries, you should be able to see it. He saved all of us. Yes, he is a hero." The lobby manager stood up. "Without him, I can't imagine what harm these rioting crowds would cause to this city." He pointed to the hotel door. "There are hundreds of injured people inside, all of them victims rescued by good boys. Mr. Sheriff, I think they are the ones who need help the most right now." The hospital's ambulance finally arrived, and the police escorted away all the rioters who had been knocked unconscious. "We were eating at the time." Peter was sitting facing the street, and he was the first to notice the commotion outside. "We saw 70 or 80 rioters carrying various sticks and weapons. They blocked the flow of traffic and smashed cars wherever they saw them. People were beaten, and then some people came to the hotel. Peter stopped them and attracted all the attacks. All the rioters came towards Peter. But he blocked them and gave us a chance to rescue the injured. As you can see, he suffered a lot of injuries. These people were controlled. They were not afraid of pain, they were fearless, and Peter had to knock them unconscious. He didn't hurt anyone, he was a hero and he should be rewarded. And now I think Peter should go to hospital." Harry took charge of communicating with the police on his own, and he was protecting his classmates. Peter also knew Harry's good intentions, so he rarely spoke and left everything to Harry and the others. Finally, Peter couldn't help but said, "I think you should take a look at the flyers on the ground." As he spoke, he handed the sheriff a low-quality flyer. "This is a provocation from a guy who calls himself Purple Man to a guy named Daredevil. You should arrest the Purple Man, and this Daredevil, he has something to do with this too." The police sergeant grabbed the flyer and looked at it, and said angrily, "These lawless fools deserve to die." He took a deep breath and said, "Okay, I wronged you. But kids, you should go to the hospital for a checkup now, especially you. He looked at Peter. Maybe you are strong, but I think your current situation is not very good. Peter bared his teeth and said, yes, Sheriff, you're right. My whole body hurts. Jessica hugged Peter's arm worriedly and said anxiously, Sheriff, you should send us there. As the lockdown was lifted, journalists who had previously been excluded from the lockdown rushed to the scene. Peter and the others were instantly surrounded by long guns and short cannons. Fortunately, Harry had experience in this and the police stopped him, so he got into the police car with difficulty and headed to the hospital. Although the media reporters did not directly obtain much information, they were so powerful that they actually obtained the surveillance video from the hotel. At the same time, many witnesses were interviewed and a lot of precious information was obtained. Within a few hours, the story was in the newspapers. The cause of this incident was Daredevil. He was provoked by a supervillain who called himself Purple Man. Both of them are responsible, and our government should hold them accountable. They are only high school students and have not yet reached adulthood. But they are full of justice and vitality, and they have saved hundreds of people. Without this young man named Peter, I can't imagine how long this riot would have lasted, and how many more people will get hurt. We can see how much damage our young hero Peter suffered during the siege. But he is kind and has superb fighting skills. Facing 70 or 80 rioters, he didn't really hurt anyone, they knocked him unconscious. He'd rather be hurt. He is very strong. I can't imagine being attacked hundreds of times with iron bars and baseball bats and still standing. What gives him such courage? It's justice. We should cheer. This is a victory for the great America. We have heroic teenagers, each of them is no worse than anyone else. They are the future pillars of this country. Mr. Norman Osborn has a successor. Harry Osborn is calm in times of crisis, which is very rare. Who is the Purple Man? He can actually control people's thinking. Make people do things they don't want to do against their will. Our reporter interviewed the rioters who had just woken up. They clearly knew what happened before, but they can't control themselves. The Purple Man must be brought to justice. His existence is a threat to the entire society. What should we do if he controls the president and launches nuclear bombs at will? All this is a commotion. At this time, Peter and others had already left the city and went home. This kid's name is Peter Parker. A tall one-eyed black man wearing a black windbreaker is watching the video screen carefully. Yes, Peter Parker. Next to One Eye, a pretty and heroic woman with short hair reaching her shoulders was holding a folder and answered sternly. The dark blue uniform perfectly accentuates his figure. Hill, I remember this kid must be 15 years old this year, right? He looks very strong. Yes, sir. The physical examination report shows that his physical strength is significantly higher than that of ordinary people, and his ability to resist blows, strength and agility are all excellent. I saw it. One Eye looked at the video screen and said, no special ability, strong physique, superb fighting skills, and the characteristics of the Eastern countries. Put aside firearms, put aside kindness, fight face to face, there is no one among my agents like him opponent. So what you mean is, should you let him become an agent? After all, his parents. One Eye waved his hand, he is still young. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed. Pause. The video screen is paused. Hill looked up in confusion. What did you see, sir? This. He pointed his finger at a very tiny object on the screen. When he was stopping the rioters controlled by the Purple Man, he dropped this. Buttons maybe, Hill said. No, it's not. One Eye said to the side, continue. Then he said to Hill, I believe in my vision and feeling after working as an agent for decades. Hill, please ask someone to go to the police station to see if there is this thing in the evidence. In addition, find out why this kid has fighting skills, I need to know everything about him. Yes, sir. Being bullied again. Zhao Yu looked at Peter, who had a bruised nose, swollen eyes, and a scar on his forehead, speechless. Where have you been practicing? Where is your boxing technique? He suddenly felt that this boy was not worthy of training. Peter lowered his head. Master, don't you know how to predict? Or didn't you watch the news? Prediction. What can I predict all day long? Can you hold up after eating enough? As for the news, Zhao Yu said. What news? Peter spread his hands. Maybe you should look at the newspapers accumulated in the past 2 days. Zhao Yu had just broken through and escaped, so of course he didn't know what happened in the past 2 days. Hearing this, he frowned and said, "Go and bring in the newspaper from the mailbox outside." Oh, Peter slipped out. A moment later, in the villa, Zhao Yu flipped through the newspapers one by one and sighed inwardly. Maybe some people are born with a mission, and this kid has already become famous before he becomes Spider-Man. And it was in broad daylight, in full view of everyone. I only see one thing in these newspapers. He threw down the newspaper and stared at Peter fiercely. You have to work hard, and try harder. Look, who are these people? Ordinary people. They can knock you down with just a breath. Look what you have become. Weak. I don't care if you act chivalrous and righteous, that's your attitude towards life, and it's also in line with the sect's teachings. But what's going on with your black nose and swollen eyes? Does it mean that I don't have the ability to teach others? Master, don't blame me. I mean, I am in front of so many people. What Peter heard was the phrase, "I don't care if you are a hero or a hero." Zhao Yu waved his hand. "Sit down." Peter sat down obediently. "I said you did nothing wrong. It saves me more worry if you help others than harm others," he said. "But if you want to harm people, destroy the world, and rule the earth, then you can only do it as a teacher." Cleared the door. "Ah, Master, what do you mean by cleaning up the house?" he asked cautiously. "If you hit me in the face, is there any point in your existence?" Hearing this, Peter shuddered and shook his head quickly. "No, absolutely not." "It's okay if you don't." Zhao Yu nodded slightly. "Where are the Jingqi pills I gave you? Have you finished eating them? They are all flesh wounds. Won't they be fine after taking the Jingqi pills, walking a few times, and refining the congestion?" He scratched his hair. "There was one left, but I don't know where it was lost. Maybe when I was fighting those people." "Lost?" Zhao Yu frowned, feeling heartbroken. He glared at Peter. "Fighting? Is that considered fighting? Go out, and you won't be allowed to eat until you finish practicing 20 times today." Peter was crying and had to go out to practice boxing. Watching Peter leave, Zhao Yu pondered. This kid has exposed his boxing and kicking skills. Although it is not amazing, it cannot escape the eyes of those who are interested. Perhaps someone will come to your door soon. And the purple man, who is this? What he does is also crazy. If you don't mess with such a person, he may bring disaster. Since Peter is involved in it, he must. I can control people's behavior. I'm not afraid of it. Zhao Yu's mind was spinning. He didn't know who the purple man was. Regarding the Marvel world, he only knew about the famous superheroes and knew nothing about the others. In terms of controlling people's minds, probably the bald guy from the mutant school is the most powerful, or that mind gem, which is also a big killer. As for the others, Zhao Yu ignored them. In other words, they don't pay attention to it. There is a shiny black system in his mind. To control him, the system must be subdued. However, Zhao Yu didn't think that the bald professor and the Mind Stone could defeat the system. You know, the goal of the system is directly aimed at OAA. Gemstones and such are all trivial and cannot be compared at all. Even without a system, Zhao Yu didn't think he would be controlled at will. This is closely related to will. Who can control a strong will? He believes that his willpower is not weak. My peaceful life may be gone forever, but isn't that what I need? He thought so. Just when Peter was being drilled by Zhao Yu on the farm and was in a state of ecstasy, his uncle, Ben, and his Aunt May were also extremely troubled at this time. Ben held a double-barreled shotgun and viciously drove the reporter out. "Get out of my house. Peter won't accept any interviews, get out." There was a flurry of excitement, and the reporters cursed the stubborn old man in their hearts, but there was nothing they could do about him. They could only squat outside, but no one wanted to leave. "Sorry, maybe I've disturbed you too." But there was someone else, not a reporter. Well-dressed, in suits and leather shoes. "Then, what are you doing for?" Ben frowned. "That's right, I am a person in charge of Adidas in New York. We are interested in Mr. Peter's commercial value, and we plan to use $1 million to ask him to endorse our products." "Go out." Ben's eyes widened. Peter is still young and does not accept any commercial endorsements. "Listen to me, $1 million in the first year. If things go well, it will increase by 20% year by year. You see. Go out." Ben pointed fiercely at the door. The person in charge of Adidas had no choice but to spread his hands. Okay, Mr. Ben, here is my business card. If you change your mind, just call me. Watching this person leave, Ben pinched off the business card and threw it directly into the trash can. Then there was a clang and the door was closed. He sat on the sofa a little tired and said to May, maybe we should move. May also couldn't laugh or cry. This child has only been around for a long time, and he has already caused such things. Ben shook his head. He also has good intentions. It's just that this world is a world of money. He is still too young, and I can't let him be corrupted by these bad thoughts. Then, we should go see his master. May said, listen to his opinion. Go now. Ben stood up, changed his shoes, and took his coat, together. As cultivation deepens, the demand for resources will become higher and higher. Zhao Yu completed the foundation building exercise and spent a total of more than 3,000 energy pills with luck value. And Peter does not have Zhao Yu's ability to independently and rapidly improve his physique. According to his current progress, when he has perfected the Chunyang body refining fist and completed the body training, he will probably need at least 4,000 to 5,000 Qi luck points. Dan, and more. It was too luxurious to exchange Qi luck points for Jingqi pills to practice martial arts, so Zhao Yu had to consider other methods. There were nearly 1,000 luck points left earlier. After Peter caused this incident, the system rewarded Zhao Yu with 500 luck points, bringing the total to about 2,000. Zhao Yu planned to do it himself. Exchange for the elixir recipe, exchange for the elixir furnace, exchange for the alchemy method, and make enough food and clothing by himself. Get rid of dependence on the system. After throwing an energy pill to Peter and asking him to continue practicing boxing, Zhao Yu started searching in the system exchange. A few minutes later, 800 luck points were exchanged for a half-human high-magic weapon level alchemy furnace, a prescription for essence elixirs, and the basics of an alchemy book. Especially the Danjing basic course is the most expensive, with 500 luck values. But Zhao Yu thinks it's worth it. Although it is just a basic introduction, elixirs suitable for ordinary Qi refining stages and below are no longer a problem. As long as you are familiar with them and have experience, it is not difficult to refine them. But the premise is to have enough herbal materials. With no choice, Zhao Yu had to exchange the seeds of more than 10 raw materials for the Jingqi pill from the system, Yuanjingsao, Ginseng, Polygonitum odoratum, etc. It's cheap. There are more than a dozen packages of seeds, each package contains 10,000 seeds, and the total is only 100 luck points. After getting the seeds, Zhao Yu turned around and entered the cave. At the center of the cave, around a hill he gradually transformed, he sprinkled the seeds. The spiritual vein of the cave is under this hill. If the seeds are planted here, they will be nourished by the strongest spiritual energy of heaven and earth emitted by the spiritual vein, and they will surely become useful soon. However, in a short period of time, it is still a delusion to refine the essence pill by oneself. After coming out of the cave, he glanced at Peter who was working hard on practicing boxing outside. Zhao Yu sat down cross-legged and began to understand the basic alchemy method of the Alchemy Sutra. Suddenly, Zhao Yu opened his eyes. He sensed someone approaching the farm. Peter, he called out, go to the door. Someone is visiting. Bring him in. Peter stopped, said oh, and walked out in a hurry. In front of the door, an old pickup truck drove over, and Ben and May got out of the car. Uncle, Aunt, Peter said, why are you? Ben and May came up and hugged Peter. Are you here to greet him? Master said someone was visiting and asked me to come and take a look. I didn't expect it was you. Then take us to meet your master. Zhao Yu saw Peter walking in with two middle-aged couples in their 40s and 50s, and he roughly guessed their identities. He stood up and smiled. Welcome, Mr. Ben, Ms. May. Ben and May were very surprised. In their perception, Peter's master should be a wise old man, or at worst a middle-aged man, but they never expected that he turned out to be a young man. Judging by his appearance, he doesn't seem to be much older than Peter. Although his eyes are deep and his temperament is thick. Zhao Yu saw what they were thinking, but smiled and said, don't be surprised, you too. People should not be judged by their appearance. My age is not what the eyes see. May covered her mouth with a look of surprise, but you look so young. Zhao Yu smiled and said, sit down first. Perhaps you and your wife should already know something about cultivation. Zhao Yu said. Maybe you don't know the secret of it. I have briefly mentioned it to Peter, but he may not understand it. The four of them sat down separately on the sofa in the corner. Cultivation is not something that cannot be explained. Everyone knows that exercise can strengthen the body, and cultivation is just a further step, or even multiple steps. When we practice, we must first understand our body, strengthen our body, tap our own potential, and control our own power. Until you reach the subtle level, that is, you can control every inch of your muscles, every drop of blood, every bone, every acupuncture point and every meridian in your body. At this stage, you are the pinnacle of a true mortal, with a purity that surpasses ordinary people. Strength. It's a process of exploration and understanding of our own bodies. Then we have to delve into the field of energy, understand energy, absorb energy, and strengthen ourselves. Next, it will involve deeper spiritual practices such as the soul. Actually, the process of spiritual practice starts with ourselves, through our connection with heaven, earth and nature, to understand the mysteries of the world, and finally analyze the rules of this world. Ben was fascinated by what he heard, and he said in shock, "This is really unbelievable. Can we understand the mysteries of the world only through ourselves?" "Why not?" Zhao Yu said with a smile. "This is a complete evolutionary system. I told Peter that at a certain stage, we will become gods." The couple was stunned. "And you two don't have to worry about going astray in this process." Zhao Yu said with a smile. "The so-called Tao is not taught lightly, which means that the door to the mystery will not be opened to others easily. In the hands of the inheritors we are very cautious when choosing the above, making sure that he will not abuse his power easily, and can stick to his heart and firm his mind. What we pursue is the mystery and truth of this world, not destroying the world or dominating the earth." "Low-level stuff." "Peter, your nephew," Zhao Yu said. In the eyes of many people before, he seemed to be useless. But I believe that you, like me, can see his shining points. Cultivation is very difficult, but he can persevere and be able to stay fresh and energetic, and don't abuse your power. So, I have high expectations for him. I don't know how to thank you, sir. My heartfelt thanks." After hearing these words, he knew how lucky it was for Peter to meet this seemingly young but actually unfathomable person in front of him. Although it was awkward to be exposed to the mysterious aspects of the world, the words of the person in front of him made people involuntarily trust him. After chatting for a few more words, Ben talked about the reason for his visit today. "Peter's aunt and I came here today. The first reason is to meet you," Ben said. "The second thing is to solve a problem." "Is it because of what Peter did in the city that caused the trouble?" Zhao Yu said with a smile. "Your eyes can see through everything." Ben said, "Yes, I planned to move with May before, but now I think I should listen to your opinion." "There is no need to move," Zhao Yu said with a smile. "Peter was born unusual. No matter where he goes, unless he stays in the mountains and forests all his life, he will still be dazzling." May and Ben laughed. "You went too far." Zhao Yu shook his head. "Some people are born different." "Well, you two, I have a suggestion." The two looked at him. "I am the only one on this farm of mine. Peter won't stay here very often. I think you can make your home here if you want." Ben and May looked at each other. May hesitated. "Is it appropriate?" "Why not?" Zhao Yu said with a smile. "The relationship between Peter and me is that of master and apprentice. I am his master, both master and father. The relationship is extraordinary, and you are the closest people to him. Besides, I'm alone in the desert. If you were here, it would be more lively." Zhao Yu said, hesitated, and said, "Having power actually means trouble." He thought about it and said, "The incident Peter was involved in this time is related to two people. Don't worry about one of them, that is Daredevil, who is a positive figure. The other one lost his character and became a very bad person. This kind of person is crazy and will do anything. In order to avoid Peter worrying, it should be safer for you to live here with me." Peter had been acting like a good boy for a long time. When he heard this, his heart skipped a beat and he quickly said, "Uncle, Aunt, Master is right." "But," Ben hesitated, "will Peter be in danger?" Zhao Yu smiled. "Don't worry. He has power, and doesn't he still have me?" The couple thought about it for a moment, and Ben nodded solemnly. "Thank you, we accept your opinion. But sir, although I am almost 50 years old, I can still move. I can't live here with you in vain. Can I help you take care of some trivial matters? Zhao Yu laughed. Of course. In fact, I just had a sudden idea to leave these two couples here for this reason. Zhao Yu spends most of his time practicing alone. Maybe there will be more things involved in him in the future, making it difficult for him to focus on trivial things, such as cleaning, or some things about the cave. Sooner or later, someone will take care of it. In that case, why bother looking far away? Isn't this couple the best choice? He stood up and said with a smile, my farm itself doesn't need to be taken care of. I don't plan to plant crops either. But there are some things that do need to be taken care of. You guys come with me, Zhao Yu said, and with a wave of his hand, Peter, his uncle and his wife suddenly appeared in front of their eyes in a place that seemed familiar but also extremely strange. This is. Several people looked around with doubts on their faces. This is S.H.I.E.L.D. Cave. They were standing on a hill. Zhao Yu smiled and said, this is another dimension different from the outside world, but it overlaps with the farm coverage of the outside world. Another dimension. Peter's mouth dropped open. The couple looked confused. It can be seen as another space different from the Earth. It is a small space attached to the Earth. It belongs to my own little world, Zhao Yu explained. Oh, the couple took a deep breath. Although they cannot understand the mystery, they can feel the transcendence. Having a small world, tisk tisk, is incredible. The environment here is different from the outside world, Zhao Yu said with a smile. Because it is covered with the farm, I roughly transformed the terrain here. Except for the mountains at our feet, other places are similar to the farm's terrain framework, so there will be a sense of familiarity. But this cave has just been established and is deserted. The environment here contains a kind of energy, which is also the energy Peter needs for the next stage of cultivation. I call it the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. After Peter has completed the foundation building physical training, that is, waiting for him to train his body to the limit, fully understand and control his body, and after he enters the subtleties, the place of cultivation will be fixed here. Cultivation requires many resources, mainly herbs. I have sown seeds around this mountain. But I don't have much time to take care of it, so I need help. It seems I'm still useful. Ben laughed. Zhao Yu laughed. Peter's growth requires the guidance of you and your wife. You are indispensable. Then he said, I will put a mark on you. If you can clearly perceive it, you can enter and exit the cave world at will. Giving them the key to the cave world, that is, the brand, was a decision made by Zhao Yu after careful consideration. First of all, he has a good impression of this couple. Although these two couples are ordinary people, their humanity is dazzling. Generally speaking, he is a good person. Of course, good people may not always do good things. However, the cave is ultimately in Zhao Yu's hands, and the brand can be withdrawn at any time. Secondly, Peter is his disciple, and sooner or later he will enter the cave to practice. Sooner or later, it doesn't matter when he tells him. The Japanese couple moved here that day. At the same time, in order to prevent being harassed, Zhao Yu had to spend some luck points to exchange a finished array disk from the system, the lost tracing array. 200 luck points. In other words, Zhao Yu only has about 1,000 luck points left in his hand. Placing it underground on the farm and contacting the spiritual veins through the cave sky can ensure that the formation can operate at any time. The effect was dramatic. Just look at the journalists who milled around the farm, looking confused, and then fled in terror. This is just a primary burst. The effect is very single, confusing people's senses, nothing more. But the effect here is not small. The couple looked at the reporters wandering around outside the farm gate like headless chickens, and asked in surprise, what are they doing? Array, Zhao Yu said with a smile. It's like the magic array in the novel. This is just a primary array that confuses people's senses. Anyone who breaks into the farm will be sent out without leaving a trace. It will hurt people and avoid trouble. Amazing, the couple exclaimed. I will connect this formation with the cave sky. You have the brand of the cave sky and will not be affected. You can come in and out at will. Zhao Yu added and smiled. Then, from now on, I will leave the farm chores to you too. Quote, happy to oblige. Peter Parker's transformation originated from a farm. 20 days ago, Peter Parker was still an ordinary person. He was often bullied in school. He had low self-esteem and was cowardly. He was good at nothing except studying well. We consulted some relevant people. Peter saw a person at the gate of their high school 20 days ago in the morning, and then became that person's student, and that person is the owner of this farm. Peter's changes are most closely related to this person. Tell me, who is he? The one-eyed black man said expressionlessly. We checked and found that this farm belonged to another person 45 days ago. 45 days ago, Tony Stark, the chairman of Stark Industries, bought the farm, but the name on the property is not Tony Stark, but a person named Zhao Yu. Here's a picture of him, an image we took from the surveillance video at Stark Tower. Nick Fury took the photo from Hill and looked at it carefully for a while. This is just a young man, he looks only 18 years old. Yes, it looks like he is only 17 or 18 years old. But we continued to investigate and found that this person had no relationship with Tony before that. Zhao Yu, whose English name is Owen Green, is an orphan. He came out of the orphanage 2 years ago and has been there since. Worked for a courier company until 46 days ago. Boss, you know the character of a playboy very well. I'm very confused about how this person named Zhao Yu persuaded Tony and made Tony pay a sum of money to buy the farm and give it to him. Fury thought for a moment. Maybe something happened to him that we don't know about. So, what about that pill? Have the ingredients been tested? What effect does it have? The ingredients cannot be analyzed. We have only detected one ingredient through various means. It will produce a lot of energy when it acts on the human body, making people energetic and healthier, but that's it. The effect of Jingqi pill is originally like this. It is used to supplement the nutrients and energy needed by the physical body. And it must be quickly absorbed during the operation of the martial arts fists and kicks, thereby enhancing the physical fitness. If ordinary people eat it, they will at most be healthier and more energetic. As for the ingredients, it is naturally difficult to analyze the ingredients of elixirs refined through alchemy. What's more, it's produced by the system. Many biological drugs can achieve this effect. Hill added. Fury thought for a moment. Ask Coulson to come over. After a while, a man who was formally dressed, with short hair, a receding hairline, not very tall, and very gentle eyes walked in. Gentlemen, take this. Fury handed a stack of documents to Coulson. I'll give you a task. Go visit the farm in the document. I need to know who the owner of the farm is. Okay. Coulson nodded and said, any tips? You need to understand this. Fury said, if I knew, I wouldn't let you go. Coulson smiled and shrugged. Outside the farm, Coulson looked confused. He had arrived here just now and planned to ring the doorbell. A few reporters standing around looked at him like they were idiots and walked towards the door. Then his eyes turned around and saw some fantasy, and somehow he was back to where he was. After frowning and thinking for a while, he walked towards a reporter next to him with a smile. Sir, can you tell me why this is? The reporter shrugged. We don't know either. But as long as you get close to the gate, you will be confused by the fantasy and come back for no reason. Just the gate? Coulson asked. No, it should be the entire farm. The reporter said. We have thought of many ways, but obviously, every corner of a 100-acre farm is very tight. Coulson thanked him, turned around and looked at the farm gate, thinking deeply. But suddenly, he saw a young man, the young hero in the profile, Peter Parker, walking out of the gate. Reporters immediately swarmed him like sharks smelling blood. I saw the young man easily pushed aside these reporters and said, Hi sir, Master asked me to invite you in. Coulson looked around and pointed at his chest. Are you calling me? Of course. Peter smiled. Follow me. Watching Peter lead the guy in, the reporters planned to follow, but unfortunately, they returned to the same place with confused faces. God, I almost thought I was going to backtrack today. Coulson followed Peter and complained slightly. Young man, what is going on here? Why does something like that happen? It's amazing, isn't it? Peter shrugged. It's just to prevent harassment. You know, those reporters are not easy to deal with. Coulson smiled in a very friendly manner and said, reporters are like sharks. Wherever there is the smell of blood, they swarm up. They are very annoying. Yes, Peter was convinced. They even forced Uncle Ben and Aunt May to move. Do you know, they have described our place as a ghost farm. Ghost farm. This name is very appropriate. You know, I was shocked just now. Meet me, I am Phil Coulson. You are Peter Parker, right? Coulson smiled. You know me. Ah, you should know. Peter was no longer surprised when he thought of his current title as a young hero. Coulson smiled without explaining. Did you just say that you, Master? He knew I was coming to visit. There is a camera at the door. Peter shook his head. Definitely not. He always sees things in advance. I remember when I first came here, he was waiting at the door early in the morning, as if he knew when I would come. And Uncle Ben and Aunt May, they let me go to the door and then they will come. Coulson nodded calmly. Then he must be a very remarkable person. Is he a wizard, or a person with superpowers? Probably not. Peter scratched his hair. He told me that as long as you cultivate to a certain level, everything in the world, from the sun, moon and stars to atomic quarks, from matter to energy, and even laws, will be as good as the palm of your hand. Observing patterns. Anyway, I don't quite understand what's going on. I should be able to find out in the future. You mean, practice. Coulson caught the key word. Parker reacted. Sir, are you inquiring about something? Coulson felt regretful and smiled. I'm just curious, aren't I? Don't you think this is all very unusual? Peter shrugged. Then you should ask my master. He stopped talking. When Coulson saw this, he knew it would be difficult to get words out of Peter, so he said no more. Just looking around along the way to see if there is anything special, such as the reason why this farm is called a ghost farm. From a distance, I saw a small villa standing by the lake, surrounded by mountains and rivers, with pleasant scenery. A woman was taking care of the lawn outside. The two of them walked over, said hello, and then walked into the villa. Coulson was not surprised by Zhao Yu's young face. He had Zhao Yu's information and had read it many times. Hello, Mr. Zhao. Coulson took out an ID from his jacket pocket. I am Coulson from the Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency. This is the first time we meet. What's the territorial strategy? Zhao Yu frowned. S.H.I.E.L.D for short. Coulson smiled. Please sit down. Zhao Yu gestured with his hand and waited for Coulson to sit down before saying, it sounds like your department is similar to the CIA or FBI. So, Mr. Coulson, you come to see me, what's the matter? I don't remember ever breaking the law. S.H.I.E.L.D is not the CIA or the FBI. It is affiliated with the International Security Council and has no direct affiliation with the government. Coulson explained. Then why are you here? Coulson smiled gently and said, that's right. The purpose of S.H.I.E.L.D is to protect the safety of mankind. Externally and internally. Mr. Zhao is not an ordinary person and should have some understanding of the other side of the world. Our main task is to deal with this matter. Zhao Yu said nothing, hummed, and motioned for Coulson to continue. Mr. Zhao has powers beyond ordinary people. Wait a minute. Zhao Yu waved his hand. How do you know that I have power beyond ordinary people? Coulson pointed to Peter beside him with a smile. Peter Parker was just a skinny high school student 20 days ago, but now, he is a hero. Zhao Yu nodded. So, what are you going to do? Incorporate us. No, Mr. Zhao may have misunderstood. Coulson smiled and said, we will not recruit anyone. I am here today to represent S.H.I.E.L.D and have a simple meeting with Mr. Zhao. Let's get to know each other to avoid future conflicts. There will be unnecessary misunderstandings. For example, when protecting the safety of this world, we can help each other. Coulson smiled. What you said makes people feel comfortable. Zhao Yu laughed. Help each other, not help you. Of course not, Coulson said sincerely. We are born free and equal, aren't we? Zhao Yu laughed and then said, what about other than that? In addition, I need to get to know you, Mr. Zhao. Coulson said. In order to estimate our own strength in advance at some point, we can reasonably respond to any crisis. I understand what you mean. Zhao Yu waved his hand. I don't like to stir up trouble, I prefer peace and tranquility. So, you don't have to worry about what crazy things I will do. Of course, if you have troublesome things, if I have time, I am willing to provide some help. Or, Peter, my apprentice, he is more willing to do something within his ability for this world. As for me, it's not easy to describe. You will know it later. Coulson listened and smiled. I can see it. He pointed outside. This farm of yours is indeed very peaceful. He stood up. In that case, I'll take my leave first. I hope we can become friends in the future. Certainly. That's just the way it is. Coulson told Fury exactly what he saw and heard, as well as his conversations with Zhao Yu and Peter. Fury turned his back to him, stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, looked into the distance, and said calmly, "So what do you think?" "I think it's not bad." Coulson laughed. "Not bad." Fury turned around. "Tell me about it." Through the conversation, the first impression he gave me was that he was indifferent. Coulson said, "Of course, it may be a disguise. He does not look like an 18-year-old young man, but a person with deep experience. At least people over 40 or even older would give me this feeling. Comparing the information we have detected, it is certain that something unknown happened to him. Or he has always hidden it very well. We don't know how strong he is and what abilities he has. But the kid named Peter said a word that I think is worthy of attention: practice. Do you practice?" Fury touched his chin. "Have you checked the meaning of this word?" In some fragmentary ancient legends in the East, this word appears very frequently. Coulson has obviously done enough work. It is said that a few ancient people of a certain ethnic group in the East used certain methods to train themselves and gradually gained powerful power. Today's martial arts or fighting can also be regarded as a kind of practice. "You mean, they practice martial arts and fighting?" Fury said. "Maybe, maybe not." Coulson shrugged. "From Peter Parker's behavior in that accident, we can see that he is proficient in fighting. But it only took him half a month to lose his physical fitness. Growth to a point far beyond that of ordinary people, martial arts has no such effect. Zhao Yu is very mysterious and cannot be seen through. But if we look at his behavior and the behavior of people related to him, we can make an inference." Coulson continued. "Peter Parker's behavior, I think, is unprecedented. It's faulty. And we know that the accident was an accident for Peter Parker, which can rule out the possibility of intentional arrangement. So, Peter Parker did this out of his own heart. And he is Zhao Yu's apprentice. From this, we can know Zhao Yu's guidance. At least Zhao Yu didn't teach him how to do bad things." Coulson added. Fury nodded slightly. "Secondly, the behavior of taking in the couple. Of course, we can think that it was because of Peter that he did this. But I have carefully observed that the couple have rosy faces and are in good spirits. They seem to be living a good life in that ghost farm." Fury continued to nod. "The other is the ghost farm. He may have exerted a power on the farm that blinds and affects the senses of ordinary people. But this power is harmless and is just to prevent being harassed. I have experienced it. We know that many people will get it if they suddenly get it. With a power beyond ordinary people, his psychology would undergo a reversal change. He would unleash his desires wantonly and break the rules of the world. He did not do this. So I think he's harmless for the time being," Coulson said. "Then keep observing." A thoughtful look appeared on Fury's face. "It's best to get closer to him. The changes in Peter Parker are of great value to us." Coulson nodded. "Can you count me in?" The slim girl with long black hair and brown eyes appeared at the school gate at the same time as Jessica. It was when school was over that Peter planned to fulfill his promise and take Harry and a few others to the farm to meet Zhao Yu. "Cindy Moon, hello Peter." The girl stretched out her hand. Peter was confused, shook hands with her, and looked at Jessica, who was with her. Jessica spread her hands. "I told her about this, and she." Cindy answered. "I like sports and martial arts fighting." As she said that, she made a karate starting pose, looking heroic. "I know you, Peter. You are very powerful. You single-handedly stopped the riots in the city. I have seen the video and you are very powerful. If you were not concerned about the safety of those being controlled, you would not have been injured." The girl looked at Peter with burning eyes, extremely hot. Jessica's eyes widened. "Hey, Cindy, what do you mean?" "Peter is mine." The two girls immediately quarreled. Next to him, Harry snickered and pushed Peter with his arm, whispering, "Man, you're in luck." Mary folded her arms and said nothing. While Peter couldn't laugh or cry, he also felt a little happy in his heart. Two girls, both beautiful and pleasing to the eye, actually, hee. As a youthful and restless boy, it would be strange not to be secretly happy. Okay. Peter quickly pulled away from the two people who were staring at each other, and said, "Aren't you friends?" "Well, it's not good for me to sleep like this at the school gate, isn't it?" Snort. The two girls snorted and turned their faces away. Peter touched his nose, gave Harry a speechless look, and then said, "Let's leave now." Harry, Mary, Peter, Jessica and Cindy all got into Harry's sports car at the same time. Harry and Mary were sitting in the front and passenger seat, with Peter in the back sandwiched between the two girls. Seeing the two girls still staring at each other, Peter felt very embarrassed. He quickly changed the subject. "My master's farm is not far away, about 4 or 5 kilometers away. It will be there soon." "Ghost farm, I know." Harry looked at Peter's restless appearance in the back seat through the rearview mirror, smiled, and said, "Those reporters said there are ghosts there, and people can't get close to them." "Are there really ghosts?" Jessica looked frightened and grabbed Peter's arm hard. Not to be outdone, Cindy on the other side also hugged Peter's other arm tightly. Now Peter couldn't even wipe his nose. "That's a rumor." Peter suppressed his embarrassment and said, "It's just to avoid being harassed by reporters. You should also feel it." Harry smiled and said, "They focused on you, so we're okay. Even if Peter attracts firepower, there are still reporters harassing me. My dad has had a nervous breakdown these days." Jessica complained. "You should adapt," Harry said. "We are good friends, and something like this may happen again in the future. If there were riots like that day, Peter wouldn't remain indifferent, would he?" "I knew it," Jessica said weakly. "I don't like to be the focus. If Peter becomes a hero, those reporters with dog noses will definitely harass us." But Mary enjoyed it. "I think it's pretty good." "Of course you think it's okay. You want to be a star." Jessica curled her lips. "Okay, don't you think we've strayed off topic?" Harry said. "I remember I was just asking Peter about the ghost farm." Peter laughed. "Anyway, we're going to the farm soon, so I'll explain it first. Master said it's a formation." He broke away from the arms held by the two women and gestured. "It can be seen as a kind of magic formation, the magic formation in novels. Its purpose is to disrupt the senses of intruders, confuse them, and make them they hallucinate and return to where they were on their own." "Hooray! Magic hooray!" "Yes." Peter scratched his hair. "I don't understand anyway. Every time I ask him, my master, he tells me that I will understand in the future. In other words, I don't understand now. It should be very profound." Harry said. "The media and newspapers said that the entire farm is watertight and has no dead ends. I heard that the ghost farm has 100 acres. This formation is amazing." As he spoke, the sports car finally arrived at the farm gate. 3 women, 2 men, and 5 teenagers got out of the car. "This is it," Peter said. "When you follow me in, don't leave me more than 2 meters away, otherwise you will also get lost." "Aren't you lost?" Cindy curiously looked at the farm gate that looked no different from other farms, even more dilapidated. "I have permissions given to me by my master. It can be regarded as a kind of authority. I don't understand it anyway. You just need to know that I can come and go at will." Peter did not say anything about the cave world. Zhao Yu had told him not to tell anyone about this. "Now then," Harry spread his hands. "Let's go." "Hey guys." Walking into the farm, Peter repeatedly asked, "I never told Master that I would bring you here. When you see Master, you have to help me, do you understand?" Harry was stunned. "You didn't say that." Peter scratched his hair. "You don't understand how scary my master is. He likes to slap people on the back of the head. I'm scared of him." Harry looked at him speechlessly, and then burst into laughter. "Oh, Peter, you are so pathetic. Well, I think the ladies and I will help you, don't worry. At most, I'll take it one more time." Peter muttered, and then said, "Remember, never let me fight alone. Actually, I really want to see that kind of horror." Harry exaggerated. "What will our young hero's daily life be like? Ladies, aren't you curious?" The girls giggled and said, "Curious." Peter's face fell. Of course Zhao Yu knew that a stranger came to the farm, and he also knew that the person leading the way was Peter. Peter's breath was so familiar to him that he could no longer be familiar with it, and the remaining 4 unfamiliar breaths also carried the vitality of youth. Zhao Yu knew that most of them were Peter's friends. He came out of the villa and stood by the small lake with his hands behind his hands until Peter and others arrived. "Master." Peter scratched his hair. He clearly knew that his master must have known about it if he brought his friends here. Just like him and his uncle and aunt back then, Master knew about it early on. But if you know it, and you can hide your ears and steal the bell. Now I have the feeling of being caught doing bad things. Zhao Yu turned around, said nothing, and slapped him with a straight face. Ouch. Master, can you please be gentle? Can you give me some face? My friend is here. Peter stumbled, touched the back of his head, and complained directly. Have you ever said that Master is not allowed to bring your friends over? Zhao Yu said, don't you know how to say hello to Master first and make some preparations? It's very rude, you know. Ah, Peter opened his mouth and said dejectedly, okay, I was wrong. Zhao Yu ignored him and smiled at the helpless boys and girls standing aside. Welcome, Peter's friends. I am Zhao Yu, Peter's master. Hello, master. Harry said quickly. We are sorry that we have caused you trouble. It's okay. Zhao Yu smiled and said, this kid, he pointed at Peter, remember to eat but not to fight. He didn't take any food for 3 days. This is the interaction between our master and disciple. Don't think it's strange. Still, yes, you can call me Zhao. I am not a master-student relationship with you, so you don't need to call me master. By the way, why don't you introduce me? I'm Harry Osborn, Peter's classmate and best friend. Harry said, this is my girlfriend, Mary Jane, Peter's former neighbor. Hello, Zhao. My name is Cindy Moon, and I like Peter. I also like Peter, Jessica Jones. After the black-haired girl and the blonde girl were introduced, they immediately stared at each other and refused to give in. Zhao Yu was slightly stunned and couldn't help but look at Peter specifically. Is this kid so popular in the blink of an eye? He couldn't help but secretly complain that he, the master, was still a bachelor, but he didn't expect that the apprentices were starting to have 2 different things. By the way, plus future Gwen Stacy, that's 3 ships. Of course, Tony doesn't count. That playboy dealt with countless women. There is no comparison. Oh, it seems that Peter has a rich love life. Zhao Yu said a cold joke, and then said, so, boys, do you think it is better to go into the house now, or is it better here? Ah, well, the weather is nice today, maybe it's better here. Harry said uncomfortably. Okay. Zhao Yu nodded. Peter. Ah, master. Peter nodded quickly and bowed. Go, bring out the sofa and coffee table, bring out the fruits, make tea and coffee, do you understand? Understood. Peter quickly entered the house. After setting up the coffee table, sofa, fruits, coffee and tea, they started chatting by the small mirror-like lake under the warm sunshine of dusk. May I know why you're here? Just visiting. Or something else? Zhao Yu smiled. Among the 4 people Peter brought, in Zhao Yu's eyes, at least Harry Osborn was valuable. Searching the memories before time travel, Harry in the movie was initially a very likable young man. He has a background, but he is not arrogant, and he can get along with a loser like Peter. It can be seen that his character is still good. The most important thing is that Harry not only has a close relationship with the first-generation Green Goblin, but he is also the second-generation Green Goblin. Superheroes have luck, and so do supervillains. And Zhao Yu really wants to know what kind of chemical reaction will occur when the supervillain fails to become a villain and becomes a hero instead. When he saw Harry Osborn, Zhao Yu became interested. Therefore, as soon as he opened his mouth, he planned to directly introduce the topic. Sure enough, as Zhao Yu guessed, they were curious about the huge changes that had occurred in Peter in a short period of time, and if possible, they also wanted to experience it for themselves. Perhaps fearing that Zhao Yu would misunderstand, Harry tried his best to explain, we are just curious about you. We are all envious of Peter's changes. Of course, if. Zhao Yu laughed. He waved his hand and said, you should know something about this. Peter is a big mouth, isn't he? Harry and the others laughed awkwardly. Zhao Yu said, practice. He raised his finger and said seriously, Peter's power is not obtained out of thin air. Harry, your background is different from Peter's. You know more about the other side of the world than they do. There are also girls. You guys, I don't mince words, you can also listen to it and treat it as a story. I do know a little bit, but Zhao, I don't know much. Maybe my father knows more. Harry said. Many things happened when I overheard my father talking to others. Some snippets. Zhao Yu nodded. He is protecting you. Then he said, There are some magical things in this world that are different from what the general public sees. As far as I know, many people hiding in the dark have extraordinary powers. In addition to genetic mutations of their own blood, mutants who gained power after awakening, most of the others gained power by accident, or were irradiated, infected, or obtained an item that can give power, or were directly given power by someone. The power comes too suddenly and has no foundation, like a castle in the air, causing many people to change their temperaments and become crazy. Just like the riot you experienced before, the purple man hiding behind the scenes is such a person. I cannot give you such power. Actually, there is a way. As long as there is luck value, some elixirs that directly enhance strength cannot be exchanged. For example, if you drop one of the 9-turn golden elixir, it will directly turn you into an immortal. But how could Zhao Yu say it? I have a complete inheritance of the cultivation system, but Peter has not really stepped foot on the threshold. And cultivation is very difficult. You have to be able to endure loneliness and keep your true heart. Otherwise, you will be unable to go any further at worst, or you will go crazy at worst. And die. First, to scare them, Zhao Yu saw hesitation on the faces of several people, and said, "But you must know that the power gained through diligent study and hard training is the power that truly belongs to you and can be fully controlled. Not those criminals, controlled by power. This is the most rare thing. Furthermore, cultivation is not about talking about something. Cultivation is the process of understanding yourself and the world. In this process, understanding and comprehending the mysteries and knowledge will turn into your power. This is not unscientific. It's just that there is another way of evolution that is different from science. The so-called winter training is 3-9 and summer training is 3 days. Peter must spend a lot of time practicing boxing every day. He must practice boxing for more than 3 hours a day under my supervision. In the morning and when he is free, he does not waste any time. In addition to the necessary schooling, eating and sleeping, the rest of the time must be devoted to cultivation. Because I had something to do a few days ago, I gave him 2 days off. Otherwise, he would not have time to play with you." Quote. And this kind of life will continue forever. Unless something happens or encounters a bottleneck, it will not change. It will only change due to different stages and methods. Listening to Zhao Yu's narration, several people expressed disbelief. Mary exclaimed, "I have to take care of my skin and put on makeup every day, and there's not enough time." Except for Cindy, who likes martial arts and sports, everyone else, including Harry, said that such a life is too difficult. Unchanged, it lasts forever. Zhao Yu smiled and said, "Actually, you have a misunderstanding. Although cultivation is difficult, it is also very happy. Because the process of cultivation is the process of discovery. Peter is now discovering his own mysteries. Every bit of progress has been gained. Corresponding knowledge. It's not impossible to immerse yourself in it. Moreover," Zhao Yu said, "just like Mary, you need to put on makeup and take care of your skin. This is what girls have to do. But you don't know, cultivation is also a process of beauty. Haven't you noticed that Peter is getting more and more beautiful? Tall and handsome. Haven't you noticed that his skin is getting better and better? Practice is not about muscles, but coordination. It's not like you think, where you become a muscular man or a muscular woman. Look at me, look at Peter, are we like that?" He looked at Harry again. "I remember that the core business of Osborne Group is biotechnology, right?" Harry suppressed his surprise and nodded. "Yes, Zhao, Osborne focuses on biotechnology." "Then I think you can follow the same path as Peter. There are 3 reasons." Zhao Yu smiled and said, "First, you are Norman Osborne's only son. You will become his successor in the future and control Osborne Enterprises. In the process of cultivation, you will discover countless mysteries of the human body. These mysteries are directly transformed into your power, but they can also be applied to biotechnology. Because all the secrets of the human body have been analyzed, you will know what methods to use when a certain disease occurs in the human body. Go figure it out." Harry's eyes widened. "Is this okay? Why not?" Zhao Yu laughed. "What about the other 2 reasons?" Harry couldn't help but ask. "Second, you have this qualification," Zhao Yu said with a smile. "The way of cultivation requires qualifications, that is, potential in this area. Many people do not have it, or their potential is not high enough, and there is no future in cultivation. But if you have the qualifications, people like Peter, like you, will achieve great things. Do I have the qualifications? Harry asked in surprise. Peter told me before that you need qualifications and potential. Did you expect that I also have it? Why not? Zhao Yu waved his hand. This is talent. Then I'm really lucky. Harry swallowed. What's the third reason? Third, you may not want to hear it. Zhao Yu said. This also has something to do with you. Harry was slightly nervous. Isn't it good news? Of course. Zhao Yu said, I can tell that there is a hidden disease in your body. Impossible. Harry immediately didn't believe it. How is it possible? I am very healthy, very healthy. Several other girls also said it was impossible. It's probably a disease that affects the body. It should be a genetic disease. Zhao Yu shook his head. Maybe in a year or two, there will be obvious symptoms. Harry, maybe your father knows, you can ask him. Hearing what Zhao Yu said, Harry hesitated. He didn't believe it, but Zhao Yu was so indifferent and even asked him to ask his father, so it couldn't be a lie. He panicked, then remembered what Zhao Yu said before, and couldn't help but said, cultivation can cure diseases. Of course, Zhao Yu affirmed. Didn't I say it before? The first step in cultivation is to dialyze and strengthen yourself. In this process, your body will become stronger and stronger, producing abilities far beyond those of ordinary people. Resistance, and you will discover the cause of the disease, and you may not need other methods. When you are strong enough, the cause of your disease will be solved. Harry and the girls all breathed a sigh of relief. It would be great if it can be solved. Then, Harry hesitated. I have to ask my father first, and then. Of course, I'm not forcing it. Zhao Yu nodded and smiled. Whether you want to follow the same path as Peter, that's your freedom. Chapter 31. Then, what about us? Zhao, Cindy finally couldn't help but speak. I also want to. She paused. It's not because I can beautify or have a good figure and skin. I'm different from Jessica. I just like. I think, cultivation, is much cooler than martial arts. Jessica glared at Cindy. Cindy Moon, do you plan to use me as your foil? Why not? Cindy said without any sign of weakness, that's the way it is. Do you dare to say that you don't think so? Jessica was immediately speechless. When she saw Peter, who had been sitting next to Zhao Yu without speaking, she immediately said, I knew you were trying to get close to Peter. Humph, so what? I like Peter, he is a hero. And I also like cultivation. It's the best of both worlds, right? Unlike you, I don't like practicing at all. Who says I don't like practicing? Peter was already holding his head and shrinking into a ball. He felt, it was so embarrassing. Look at the smiling Harry on the side, maybe the whole world will know about it soon. Zhao Yu thought it was quite interesting for women to bicker. After watching the excitement for a while, he said, if you are willing, you can try it for a while and experience it before making a choice. Then he said to Peter, Peter, I leave it to you. Peter glanced at the two girls who were refusing to give in to each other, and sighed heavily. Mary, maybe, or, you are better. Peter smacked his lips and said, no, I'm doing it for beauty. Mary laughed. Peter, don't think too much. Peter had no choice but to spread his hands. Of the group of teenagers in front of him, Zhao Yu's favorite was of course Peter. Then there's Harry. As for the remaining three girls, he slightly liked Cindy. As for Jessica and Mary, they are not the same people. Harry has many advantages, some qualifications, he is smart and has a good personality. No one would think bad of Harry if he saw him. However, Zhao Yu still held a wait-and-see attitude, although he had already planned to accept Harry as his apprentice. Before traveling through time, Zhao Yu had watched all the movies about Peter. Among them, Zhao Yu still remembers a lot of Harry's performance. Under the threat of disease, his life was severely tested, and there was a great terror between life and death. Harry could not survive it. As a result, his character changed drastically. Of course, for 99% of ordinary people, no one can survive the horror between life and death. This is understandable, but being able to deal with it calmly and with a good attitude between life and death is a good candidate for cultivating immortality. Maybe Zhao Yu can't do it now, but of course he hopes that his disciples can do it. This is what a preacher and teacher expects from his disciples. But don't force anything. Harry can become the second-generation Green Goblin, so he certainly has his talent. This is valuable to Zhao Yu, and that is enough. As for whether he will become the second-generation Green Goblin after becoming Zhao Yu's apprentice, it doesn't matter. For Zhao Yu's plan, it actually doesn't matter whether he becomes a superhero or a supervillain. As for Cindy Moon, Zhao Yu felt that this girl's character should be quite strong. Compared to Jessica, who was competing with her for Peter, Zhao Yu could see that her heart was bigger. Jessica is a glass heart. Where did Zhao Yu see it? One is the previous riots. Everything before and after, Peter told him exactly. Jessica's first reaction was to escape, panic, and be at a loss. Jessica's performance was the worst among the group of them. Secondly, looking at the bickering between her and Cindy, compared to Cindy's strength, she was so weak that her eyes were red and she was crying. She was really weak. As for Mary, Zhao Yu would not comment. All right. Zhao Yu's faint voice had a certain dignity. The two girls who were cross-eyed were immediately startled and immediately calmed down. Zhao Yu was slightly relieved when he saw this. To be honest, he has no means to women. I have been a human being in 2 lives, and I have no relevant experience in either of my 2 lives. Although the teacher pretended to be very dignified in front of them, in fact, Zhao Yu had no good way to deal with the 2 cross-eyed girls. He could only use his identity and strength to suppress them. Listen to me next, he said. You are all here today, and most of the participants in the last riot are here. Regarding this matter, I will focus on my teachings of S.H.I.E.L.D. sect. Taiyaman, Harry and the others were at a loss. Zhao Yu waved his hand. Ask Peter later. Then he said, the core purpose of my S.H.I.E.L.D. sect is to save oneself. When we practice, everything starts from ourselves and everything is centered on ourselves. The so-called saving oneself is to improve in all aspects in the process of analyzing oneself and analyzing the mysteries of heaven and earth. Self, body, mind and soul. Let yourself reach the state of being with heaven and earth, or even transcending the heaven, earth and universe. It's up to you whether you care about anything that has no causal relationship with us. As for the last riot, in my opinion, it has nothing to do with you. No, Master, I don't agree with your statement. Peter saw Zhao Yu glance at him, shrank his neck, and said forcefully, Uncle Ben told me that with greater ability comes greater responsibility. If we have the ability. Quote. Zhao Yu looked at him with clear eyes, waved his hand, shook his head and said, who gave you this responsibility? Well, Peter was stunned and didn't know how to answer. Should. Zhao Yu laughed. You might say that we are members of society, so we have responsibilities. But I want to tell you, those things are not your business, but the police and the government's business. To put it lightly, you call it a Yezu agent. In what name do you go to serve as a Yezu agent for the government? Peter looked at Aunt May, who was taking care of the lawn, as if asking for help. I think Zhao said this to protect you. May stopped and sighed. You do not bear the responsibility of the entire society. Just like Zhao said, that is the responsibility of the government and is the responsibility of all of us. It is the responsibility of the government. You have no qualifications or power to manage it. Once a person shows his extraordinary side, he may be praised and sought after, but there are also people who will look at you with greed and ill-intentioned eyes. The behavior is higher than the people, and everyone will be wrong. Zhao Yu responded, because you are not ordinary, people will guess, why are you not ordinary? And why are they ordinary? They will be jealous. Furthermore, there are people who want to be as extraordinary as you, so they will attack you. But, Master, Aunt, I can't just watch those ordinary people whose lives are threatened. Since I have the ability, why can't I help them? I don't care what they think. Really? Zhao Yu laughed and looked at Harry. Maybe Harry knows this better than you. Harry nodded. Yes, people often say, don't care about other people's opinions. But in fact, public opinion has a great influence on people. This is called the public opinion, the accumulation of gold, the destruction of bones. As long as there is a deliberate instigation, you will face everyone's censure. Zhao Yu concluded. But Master, are we practicing just for ourselves? Peter couldn't accept it. And then we hide in the corner and watch with wide eyes. Look at the flowers blooming and falling in front of the court, and look at the clouds rolling in the sky. Zhao Yu said, but it's still early. Why do you think I didn't blame you after the riots? Then, Peter was confused. Yes, the core purpose of the S.H.I.E.L.D. sect is to save oneself. But when one enters the world, sends and receives messages from the heart, and saves others and saves oneself, it is all in one thought. It is impossible for people to have such a state at the beginning. After experiencing and seeing things in life, the more you learn, the more you understand it, it will come naturally. Therefore, there is the concept of joining the world. This is not incompatible with the purpose of our sect. First join the world and experience it, and see through the mortal world among others, then be born in the world and cultivate diligently, and become the Taoist by being indifferent. This is a sequential process. When you help others, it is a kind of experience and an act of helping others. In the process, you will gain a lot. Therefore, I encourage you. But never forget that helping others is to help yourself. You must remember, no one lives for others. Moreover, when helping others, you must do your best. Acting recklessly will harm others and yourself. Zhao Yu sighed. Moreover, you have power beyond ordinary people, and you have exposed your identity and attracted attention. This is there are hidden dangers. Therefore, in the future, you must be more thoughtful when doing things. He looked at Harry again. In the world of ordinary people, if people want to do shocking behavior, they must have shocking backers, or connections, or have deep political or military backgrounds, or have infinite wealth. Therefore, others don't dare to criticize him. Harry's background should give him a deep understanding of this. Harry nodded deeply. However, those are all external things. As long as there is an error in one of the links, it will inevitably collapse. We do not have a dense network of relationships, various backgrounds, and countless wealth, but your backer is ourselves. You must remember that your teacher is your backer, and your sect is your backer. Zhao Yu turned to look at Peter seriously. Be sensible and cautious. Peter pursed his lips and nodded solemnly. Very good. Maybe you can't really understand it now. But I believe that you will understand the truth behind my words in the future. Zhao Yu showed a smile. You have now mastered the Chunyang body refining fist. At the third level, you have the initial conditions for joining the world. Whatever you want to do, you must help others and be a teacher to support you. Because this process is also cultivation. But in order to avoid trouble, you must act chivalrously and change your outfit. Remember not to show your face. You have been in our sect for 20 days. I should have given you a name as a master. But it is not too late now. I call myself S.H.I.E.L.D, the master of the sect. So, you, Peter, the second generation disciple of the sect. Let's call my second disciple Tianyang. After saying this, Zhao Yu turned his hands and took out 2 milky white gold-patterned robes of the same style. From now on, outside, it may be named Tianyang, of course, it depends on your preference. This is the sect's clothing, take it. With that said, Zhao Yu handed 2 robes to Peter. One is for you, and the other is for your senior brother. By the way, I will give you a task. Send the clothes belonging to your senior brother over tomorrow. By the way, Zhao Yu ignored Peter's hesitation and said, your name is Tianyang, and your senior brother must also be called Tianfu. You can tell him when the time comes. In fact, Zhao Yu was laughing despite the pain in his heart. My heart aches because this robe was exchanged for luck points. It costs 100 yuan apiece, which is very expensive. He laughed because he seemed to see Peter and Tony, 2 Western white men with tall noses and deep eyes, looking funny in their milky white costumes. Peter scratched his hair, but he didn't notice the smile flashing in Zhao Yu's eyes, but said, is it Tony Stark? You should call me senior brother. You have to be polite, you know. Zhao Yu glared at him. Oh. Peter shrank his neck and nodded quickly. This clothes is very strange, but it feels very comfortable. Master, what kind of material is it? Peter asked. You only care about the material of this dress. Zhao Yu glared at him again. Mary on the side suddenly said, can you show it to me? Peter glanced at Zhao Yu and saw that Zhao Yu didn't speak, so he handed the clothes to Mary. It feels really good. Mary handed it to Harry again. It's better than anything you custom made. Zhao Yu looked at them helplessly and could only say, these are not ordinary clothes, they are magic weapons. Comfort is only the basis, toughness and deformation are what you should pay attention to. On this day, Zhao Yu said a lot of things that seemed to be secrets in front of them. But in fact, they are all generalized things without any real meaning. As for Peter's subsequent display of boxing skills, the same was true. Zhao Yu has long said that anyone who is not a disciple of the sect must not teach it. The boxing and kicking skills Peter showed were piecemeal, with no routines and no formulas. If you follow them, you can only strengthen your body. In the evening, Zhao Yu sat quietly on the futon. It has been nearly 2 months since I came to this world. The main mission of the first phase of system release, founding a sect, has been completed. There are no main quests for the second phase released yet. This made Zhao Yu feel a little relieved despite being anxious. To say that he is not too bad now. After breaking through to the first transformation and second refinement of the chaos real body, he has reached the second level of mortal body. In terms of strength alone, with the movements of hands and feet, it can be said to be hundreds of thousands of kilograms, which is more than 50 tons. Compared to ordinary people, he is truly a Superman. But Zhao Yu knows that the water in this world is very deep. Especially since he is still in the basic stage and has too few available means. Once life is in danger, there is probably no other way but to use the holy summoning card. For him, hiding in Tai Cave is the safest. Therefore, he planned to never run around unless necessary. He can only observe the world and make some small movements through the hands and eyes of Peter or Harry. The big plan in my heart is not really planned to be rolled out for the time being. Zhao Yu's heart turned over and over again, and his slightly squinted eyes radiated light in the dark night, cutting through the darkness. A long time. System. Zhao Yu called out the system. I want to exchange the basic part of the 3 yuan qi refining method worth 100 luck points. Exchange successful. The system sound came next. Then, the basic part of this supreme method exploded in Zhao Yu's mind. After appreciating it for a moment, Zhao Yu glanced at the luck value balance in the lower right corner of the exchange area and sighed slightly. As of now, he only has 400 luck points left. We have to let this boy Peter go out to stir up trouble and earn luck points for me. Otherwise, in a few days, I won't even be able to take the Jingqi pill. As soon as the thought in his mind changed, Zhao Yu devoted all his energy to the realization of the 3 yuan gui yi qi refining method. The method of refining the energy of the 3 elements into one is a supreme method that is no worse than the true form of chaos. This set of techniques is used to cultivate the 3 yuan and 3 qi, based on the qi of Hundong Taiwuyuan Gao Sheng Yushu, the qi of Qihan Taiwuyuan Shuan Shengzixu, and the qi of Mingjig Zantong Yuan Supreme Pure Void. In the end, he reversed his innate nature and obtained the Tao. However, to practice this method, there is a prerequisite: you must possess the primordial qi of chaos. Only by placing the chaos yuan qi in the middle to harmonize and differentiate can the 3 yuans and the 3 qi be cultivated respectively. After Zhao Yu realized it, he couldn't help but look speechless. He suddenly thought of the bit of information left in the chaos true body method during the only lottery draw, which required him to practice the 3 elements returning to 1 qi method at the same time. How about giving it a try first? Zhao Yu frowned slightly. In other words, when practicing any method, you must be more cautious and more careful. Once something goes wrong, it can range from paralysis to disorientation. The consequences are too serious. Zhao Yu thought of this, but he always felt that he should try it. Or maybe his subconscious told him that he could do this. His thoughts turned and he suddenly called out the system. System, this 3 yuan refining method requires the beginning of chaos. Why didn't you tell me? The host didn't ask. Quote. Zhao Yu gritted his teeth. Can I exchange it for chaos yuan qi? Okay. 100 million luck points. Zhao Yu. Are you entertaining me, right? Zhao Yu suppressed his displeasure. 100 million. How about selling me to you? Reject the host's proposal. And by the way, tell the host that the host is only worth 5,000 luck points at this stage. Quote. Zhao Yu simply ignored the system. Turning off the system light curtain, Zhao Yu closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and suppressed all the waves in his heart. When the heart lake becomes ethereal, the mantra and heart method of the 3 elements returning to 1 qi refining method will turn into the most original lines, leaving a deep imprint on the heart lake. As soon as he thought about it, the method started to work. In the mist, a pair of eyes blinked and disappeared instantly. As the method moves, wisps of something suddenly emerge from every corner of the body, like a dream, yet like reality, as if it does not exist, yet as if it exists, as if it is small, yet extremely great. Zhao Yu seemed to have seen the creation of the world and the origin of the Great Road. Although it disappeared in a flash, it left a trace. That kind of mysterious things gathered from the body, and finally gathered in the heart aperture as the method was transported. At this moment, Zhao Yu watched coldly. It was like a spectator, watching those misty beings gather together and finally merge into one, and then burst out with thousands of light, illuminating his entire body. The light flashed away, collapsed suddenly, and finally formed a chaotic air ball in the heart. Chaos Yuan-Shi-Chi. Zhao Yu suddenly woke up from his role as a spectator and almost fell out of his cultivation state. Why is there chaos Yuan-Shi-Chi in my body? The system is not so kind. These thoughts are fleeting. He quickly calmed down and put all his thoughts into his mind. The method of refining the qi of the three elements into one began to operate quickly, and the chaotic yuan qi in the heart orifice began to gradually differentiate under the stimulation of the method. It's like three little snakes of different colors are about to hatch out of it. They are reluctant to let go of the primal energy of chaos, but they are full of desire and curiosity to escape. A little snake is clear and translucent, a little snake is red and black, and a little snake is purple, but aren't they the three yuan and three qi? Zhao Yu tried his best to differentiate three thoughts and merge them into three yuan and three qi. Don't tolerate any interruption during this process. If it is interrupted, the consequences are unpredictable. I don't know how long it took, but finally, the three yuans and three qi were completely separated from the chaos Yuan-Shi-Chi. As for chaos Yuan-Shi-Chi, only a thin layer of fetal membrane is left. This layer of fetal membrane is divided into three parts, and the bag head wraps Sanyuan Sanchi, which is like putting a layer of clothes on Sanyuan Sanchi. The three qi are swimming in the heart orifice, colliding with each other from time to time, creating a kind of mutual repulsion. And that layer of clothes had a huge harmonizing effect at this moment. Zhao Yu felt relieved and let out a long breath. It's finally done. He suppressed the turmoil in his heart for a while before calming down. It seems that the information when I drew the true form of chaos is not unfounded. I think I must have known that I possess the primordial qi of chaos. But, as he was thinking, a wry smile appeared on his face. One chaos true body is enough for me. Now add the 3 yuan gui yi refining method, how much luck will I get? Only then can we exchange for the Dharma door to consummation. That's all. Being able to lay the foundation with these 2 supreme true methods is already a huge blessing in itself. Why should I expect too much? Take it one step at a time. With a good foundation, I may not. His eyes narrowed slightly. Immediately, he was immersed in cultivation again. In the morning, Zhao Yu walked out of the villa and faced the warm morning sun, feeling very refreshed. No wonder the message told him to combine 2 true methods, but it turned out that the 2 true methods actually promoted each other. Last night, I initially mastered the basic part of the 3 yuans returning to 1, and after dividing the 3 qi, when I practiced again, I discovered that when transporting the 3 yuans and 3 qi, it actually had an indescribable boost to the true form of chaos. In just one night, Zhao Yu's chaos true body made great progress in the second refinement. Moreover, the instinct to shrink into an inch, which was born when the physical body broke through the first level of the mortal body, and the Teibai Jinki obtained when the physical body broke through the second level, have been greatly enhanced. However, the powerful physical body of chaos true body can support the rapid transportation of 3 yuan and 3 energy, and it can grow rapidly. The 2 really complement each other. Zhao Yu couldn't help but think, is there some internal connection between these 2 supreme true methods? It's not impossible, it's just that his current level is too low to analyze the essence. Only when you reach the realm, you can naturally understand the truth. But now that qi cultivation has begun, there is a demand for the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It seems that cultivation must rely on Dongtian. Peter was practicing boxing at this time. He was far away by the lake, with the wind blowing from his fists, causing the nearby lake to ripple. Chunyang body refining boxing is already quite popular. Seeing this, Zhao Yu felt satisfied and nodded slightly. Without disturbing Peter, Zhao Yu walked to the side, opened his posture, and performed a set of Tai Chi. Then, the couple arrived at the lake one after another. The couple also followed Zhao Yu to practice Tai Chi. In silence, in harmony with nature, under the rising sun, the 4 of them each gained something. Peter. After breakfast, Zhao Yu called Peter to his side. go to Manhattan and see your senior brother. Ask him on your behalf how you are doing with the Chenkin talisman chi method for body training. In addition, Zhao Yu paused, stared at Peter seriously, and said, from now on, whether you help others to do justice or punish rape and eliminate evil, I will not stop you as a teacher. But there are a few pieces of advice you should keep in mind. Quote. Peter straightened up and quickly braced himself to listen. First, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, remember to hide your face when doing things. Replace it with a new identity, gradually eroding the reputation of the former, young hero, and letting Peter Parker disappear from the eyes of the public. When he said this, Zhao Yu actually felt unhappy. It's just that I'm not strong enough. If I were strong enough, would I still be afraid that my apprentice would reveal his identity? So what if it's exposed? Who can do anything? You must make good use of the deformation power of the sect's clothing, and of course, you must also cherish it. These things are very expensive, you know. Don't come back every once in a while and say that the clothes are damaged, because the master will not take care of you. Peter shrank his neck and chuckled, don't worry, master. He had a deep understanding of the magic of sect costumes after playing with them for an hour or two last night. After confessing his master with a drop of blood, he thought about it and his clothes changed accordingly. If you want a suit, just a suit. If you want casual, just casual. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue and purple are ever-changing and dazzling. It can also transform into a helmet or a turban to cover your face, making it a must-have item for murder, arson, and home travel. And it's very tough. At least Peter couldn't tear it apart even if he tried his best. Of course, he didn't dare to tell Zhao Yu this for fear of being slapped on the forehead. Will I trust you? Zhao Yu slapped him directly. If you don't show Fang Jie's goods for 3 days, how can you make me believe it? Master. Peter quickly moved away, covering the back of his head. Okay. Secondly, if you encounter a bad person, kill him if you need to. When he said this, Zhao Yu's expression changed, full of solemnity. You have to be decisive, you have to take action, you know. Quote. Kill someone? Peter asked cautiously. Idiot. Zhao Yu slapped him again. Let me ask you, do you think the life of a bad person is more valuable or that of a good person? Ah, life is the same, right? Peter said. It doesn't matter whether they are the same or there is a difference. For those crazy guys, if they live for one more day, countless people will suffer. Don't you understand the choice involved? Killing is saving people, you have to remember. Don't procrastinate and let others turn the tables. If you die, my master will not collect your body for you. The reason why a bad guy is that he won't be grateful. Letting him go will make him hate you even more. It doesn't matter if you die, don't hurt your relatives and friends. When Peter heard this, his expression became solemn. I understand, master. Well, you have to remember what my teacher said. How to do it specifically. My teacher is not by your side, and you are on your own. Maybe, you will understand it when you truly feel the pain. Now, get out of here. Peter had the feeling that the sea was wide enough for fish to leap, and the sky was high enough for birds to fly. This is probably the benefit of having a backer and no worries. The supporter is Master Zhao Yu, and the worries are this couple. The couple now live on the farm, with Zhao Yu taking care of them, so Peter can certainly feel relieved. In the Spider movie series before Zhao Yu's time travel, Peter kept hiding this from the couple, probably out of consideration for protecting them. He is a smart man and knows that there is no limit to criminals and supervillains. Once they know his details, there is no guarantee that they will not attack this couple. The less people know, the less danger there is. In fact, many superheroes use various uniforms to hide their identities and have the same concerns. The young man walked out of the farm, got on his bicycle, and drove away with a strange cry. As he climbed into the car, his clothes began to change, from a training suit, without any trace, to a casual look of t-shirts and jeans. A bicycle, a youthful young man, walked all the way through the streets and alleys, crossed the bridge, and headed straight for Manhattan. Not long after Peter left the farm, Harry came to the farm with a sullen face. Ben took Harry inside. Zhao Yu stood by the lake with his hands behind his back. Anyway, the more he pretends, the more sensible he becomes. It is extremely rare to be able to maintain a superior demeanor in front of other people at all times. Coming, he said calmly. Harry pursed his lips and said in a low voice, Zhao, tell me, can practice really solve my troubles? It seems that your father told you. Zhao Yu turned around and looked at him calmly. Cultivators adhere to their true intentions, why should I lie to you? If you weren't a talent, I wouldn't even look at you. Do you think I have some agenda? Haha, what do you have? Money, worldly things. Maybe I still have some needs now, but there is no need to make such plans on something as important as inheritance. So, Zhao, where is my father? Norman Osborn. Harry said, where is he? Is that okay? He looked hopeful. Norman Osborn. Zhao Yuyun said calmly, yes. But it's not cultivation. Harry didn't understand. Your father is too old. Zhao Yu said, you should practice as early as possible. 8 to 16 years old is the best stage to lay the foundation. The body is the most energetic and full of vitality. But for people who are too old, the body ages and the vitality disappears, is no longer suitable for cultivation. The method I mentioned is elixir. Elixir, Harry repeated. Is it a medicine? You can say it like this. Zhao Yu said, take the elixir and spiritual materials, capture the inspiration of heaven and earth, and combine them into medicine. It can speed up your practice and improve your cultivation, or it can cure injuries and illnesses until the medicine is cured. Harry breathed a sigh of relief, his whole body going limp. But, Zhao Yu's change of voice made Harry's heart pick up again. I will not give you the elixir directly. Zhao Yu said, let me ask you, are you willing to worship me as your teacher, join my sect, and inherit my teachings? I do. Harry nodded fiercely. Very good, then you can solve your problem by yourself. Zhao Yu laughed and said, come in with me. Harry was hooked. After becoming a disciple, Harry ranked third and became Zhao Yu's third disciple. He was given a magic robe and named Tianyi. Immediately, Zhao Yu taught him Chunyang Body Refining Fist. Chunyang Body Refining Boxing is the core foundation building boxing technique of the sect. It has 9 levels in total. Your second senior brother Tianyang, also known as Peter, has now reached the 3rd level and is about to break through to the 4th level. The boxing technique is perfect and the foundation building is complete. When the time comes, I will teach you the Alchemy Sutra and the Alchemy Method. The Alchemy Sutra can solve your father's troubles. Zhao Yu warned. I hope your father's troubles can become the motivation for your cultivation. The sooner you complete the physical training and build the foundation, the sooner you can cultivate the alchemy scripture, the sooner you can save your father from the sea of suffering. As for yourself, you only need to complete the physical training and build the foundation, and make your body pure and flawless. All kinds of diseases, even those genetically inherited diseases, will leave you. But don't be impatient. Zhao Yu said leisurely. We must grasp the relaxation and be moderate. It must be noted that practice is step by step, and there is no need to rush. Look at Peter, in less than a month, he will have mastered the 4th level of pure yang boxing. As long as the supplements can keep up, you can probably complete the training in up to a year. If you can catch up with him, I will be satisfied. I think your father should still be able to persist in 1 year. Harry's expression changed, and he finally felt certain. He nodded solemnly. Master, I understand. It's good to know. Cultivation is your own business, and only you can truly control it by advising the teacher. Zhao Yu said with a smile. The boxing technique has been imprinted in your mind. You should think about it carefully today. When Peter comes back, let's practice with him. Thank you, Master. Father, I have become a disciple. Harry stood by the lake with his phone to his ear. Quote. On the other end of the phone, Norman was silent for a long time. I hope you have considered it carefully. A person's life is full of choices, and every choice will determine the future. Harry, I hope this of yours choose and you won't regret it. No, Father, I won't regret it. Harry looked firm. Although genetic medicine is an option, it requires exploration and there are many uncertainties. I can't imagine how many years and how many mistakes it will take before we can develop it. Come up with medicine to treat the Osborn family's genetic disease. And Master has a complete inheritance. I just need to follow the steps, practice hard, and solve Osborn's problem, and it will be a matter of course. Who knew he wasn't lying to you? Norman's voice rose. Osborn has a market value of hundreds of billions. Father, you may not know that my senior brother, the first disciple that Master accepted, is Tony Stark. I think he is richer than you. Quote. Well, it seems that you have really decided. It's okay, you do yours and I do mine, both ways. If I am wrong, you will be there. And you are wrong, and me. Do you understand? Harry nodded silently. At this time, Zhao Yu entered Tai Cave. Now the luck value on hand has bottomed out. After buying Harry a robe, he only has 300 left. And next, when Harry starts practicing and Peter deepens his practice, he will need a lot of energy pills. The luck value was no longer enough, so he could only rely on the medicinal materials grown in the cave. The environment here is very special. Ben stood next to Zhao Yu, gesturing with his hands. These medicinal materials grow very quickly. Did you know, Zhao, once, maybe grass seeds were stuck on the soles of the feet and brought in, and it only took 3 days. The grass is almost fully grown. Look, he pointed to the lawn at his feet. One grass seed is now a knee-deep lawn. But don't worry, I won't let them spread into the medicinal fields. Zhao Yu nodded slightly. The environment in the cave is of course different from the outside world. There is a spiritual vein here. Nourished by the rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth emitted from the spiritual veins, the growth of any living thing will be accelerated. Looking at the lush herbs in the fields surrounding the mountain, Zhao Yu said, it will take about half a month to harvest. I guess so, Ben agreed. Half a month. Zhao Yu chewed this time, feeling a little helpless. He himself has cultivated to the level where he doesn't need Jingqi pill. After all, Jingqi pill is only the lowest elixir, but Peter and Harry are 2 big consumers of elixirs. There is only 300 luck points left, which is not enough. Peter now needs at least 2 or 3 energy pills a day to meet his needs, while Harry took 1 pill a day in the early days, and the 2 of them needed at least 60 energy pills for half a month. 60 essence pills are worth 900 luck points. There is a difference of 600. Zhao Yu thought about it for a moment and sighed. It seems that the supply of Jingqi pills can only be temporarily reduced. I hope Peter will act chivalrously soon, so that I, the master, can have some income. According to the sect structure in many novels, every disciple has monthly benefits, usually elixirs. I only have a few disciples now, and I can't even supply elixirs. It's really a failure. Do I have to go out on my own, acting chivalrously to earn luck points? Zhao Yu shook his head. He would never leave the farm unless necessary in a short period of time. Antony's elixirs must be replenished for him, lest this fool says that my master's bowl of water is unfair. Various problems made Zhao Yu realize that establishing a sect was not a simple matter. This is just the beginning. There are so many troubles. When there are more and more disciples in the future, why not bother him to death? It's not advisable to rely on the system for everything. You can have enough food and clothing through self-reliance. He sighed. During lunch, Ben hesitated and said, Zhao, May and I have noticed that there are often unknown people outside the farm these days. They are not reporters. I don't know what they are. Zhao Yu put down his fork and waved his hand. I know. Don't worry, I know it well. Although Zhao Yu's senses have not reached the level of completely covering the farm and exceeding the farm area, with the help of the connection with the cave sky, everything within the farm and even the surrounding area is under his nose. Many reporters were squatting outside the farm earlier. As time went by and the riots subsided, the deeds of the young heroes gradually lost popularity. Coupled with the incomprehensible aspects of the farm, no reporters paid attention to the farm anymore. But in the past 3 or 5 days, some unknown people have occasionally appeared near the farm and even tried to enter the farm. Of course, with the support of the formation, they all failed. Zhao Yu knew these people very well. And he knows more than this couple. Those people are all blind-eyed, they are puppets controlled by others, behind them is the Purple Man. There is no one else to think about but the Purple people. Peter participated in the riots and was involved in the infighting between the Purple Man and Mad Murdoch. The Purple people will pay attention to and test the farm, and Zhao Yu is mentally prepared. He is waiting. It's useless for the Purple people to control ordinary people and test them. If the Purple people are self-aware, they may retreat. But none of the villains in Marvel are sane and all are crazy and tight. In Zhao Yu's opinion, he will probably not retreat. After testing, he may take action himself. When the time comes, Zhao Yu will make him suffer. Moreover, this is what Zhao Yu expected. The United States is very developed, especially the United States in the Marvel world. It is the center of the planet, politically, economically, and militarily. But no matter how glamorous the place is, there is a dark side. Many urban areas and slums are good soil for evil to breed. Peter makes his way through the streets, from Queens to Manhattan, encountering at least 5 blatant crimes. He was very smart. When he saw the crime, he changed his clothes without leaving any trace. He transformed his robe into a black training uniform and a black face scarf. He solved the problem in a few moments and turned around to leave. He was crooked, but when he appeared among the crowd again, he became the casual boy again. What he encountered were ordinary crimes, robberies, or other crimes. During this process, Zhao Yu, who was on the farm, had received a reward of nearly 10 luck points silently. It's not much, but it's better than nothing. Bicycles are, to some extent, more convenient than cars in the city. Because there is no need to worry about traffic jams. Coupled with Peter's strong physical strength, 2 hours later, he finally crossed the bridge over the Hudson River and entered Manhattan. Manhattan is the essence of New York. And Stark Tower is a jewel in Manhattan. Peter's bicycle was parked under the building. He looked up at the building and let out bursts of unexplained exclamations. This mansion is owned by his elder brother, Tony Stark. After finding a place to park his bicycle, Peter walked into Stark Tower holding a box. "Hey there, beautiful." Peter came to the front desk, smiled at the receptionist and said, "I'm looking for your boss, Tony Stark. Do you have an appointment?" The beauty didn't even raise her head. Peter shrugged. "No, but I think you can call him and tell him that his junior brother is here." "Junior brother?" The beauty raised her head and looked at Peter blankly. "Ah, let's put it this way. I, Peter Parker, and Tony Stark have the same teacher. Do you understand, beauty? He and I are the closest senior brothers, classmates." Peter explained. When the beauty heard this, she was confused as to why young Peter and Tony were classmates, but no matter whether Peter was lying or not, she couldn't ignore it. What if he was? So he nodded. "Wait a moment." It was Pepper who received the call from the front desk. When Pepper heard the word, junior brother, he immediately thought of that person, Zhao Yu, Tony's master. "You invite him to the assistant's office on the top floor." "Okay." The receptionist hung up the phone and politely said to Peter, "Sir, you can take the elevator and go directly to the assistant office on the top floor. Assistant Pepper will receive you." "Thank you." Peter whistled, turned and headed for the elevator. Arriving at the top floor, Peter searched for a while before finding the assistant's office. He knocked on the door, and then a woman's voice came from inside, "Please come in." Peter pushed open the door and entered. Pepper put down what she was doing and raised her head, and Peter's young face came into view. "Hello, madam." Peter stretched out his hand seriously. "Peter Parker, Tony Stark is my senior brother." "Eldest brother." Pepper spoke carefully and shook hands with Peter. "Of course, because we have the same master." Peter smiled. "Please sit down." Pepper asked Peter to sit down and said, "Is it the gentleman from the farm?" "It seems you know." Peter shrugged. "Yes, that's him, our master." Pepper understood in her heart and said, "Then why did you come?" "That's it. Master prepared a set of sect clothes for the eldest brother and asked me to send it to him and ask him about his current situation," Peter said. "So that's it." Pepper nodded, and then looked regretful. "I disappoint you, Tony has gone to Afghanistan. There are some things there that he needs to go and see in person, so I'm sorry, he's not here." When Peter heard this, he couldn't help scratching his hair, then this. He weighed the box containing the robes in his hands. "If you believe me, you can leave it to me," Pepper said. "Ah, that's okay." Peter thought about it and nodded, placed the box in front of Pepper, and said with a meaningful smile, "Of course I believe you." Pepper was much older than Peter, so she didn't understand what Peter meant. She blushed slightly, and then said sternly, "I think Mr. Peter, if everything is okay, you can leave." Okay. Peter stood up and said, "Can you leave your phone number? If you need anything, call me anytime." Pepper shrugged. Tony went to Afghanistan. When Zhao Yu heard this, his heart moved and he couldn't help but whisper, "Is Iron Man about to be born?" "What?" Zhao Yu's voice was too soft, so Peter didn't hear clearly and asked. Zhao Yu shook his head. "It's okay." But he said, You did a few good things along the way today. It seems that you are really interested in it. Peter was stunned. You know. He couldn't help but feel horrified. Zhao Yu said enigmatically, there is nothing in this world that a teacher doesn't know. Then he said, since you are interested in these things, then do it with your heart. Don't be afraid, don't hesitate, kill when you need to kill, fight when you need to fight, and understand more what happens in this process and its meaning. It will be of great benefit to you in the future. At this point, Zhao Yu looked up at the sky and said in a masterful manner, as a teacher, I will be away for a while, and I will leave all the farm matters to you. Harry is your third junior brother, and it is also your responsibility to teach him to practice boxing. In addition, strangers often appear near the farm recently. This is your fault, so be careful. I understand, Master. Peter nodded first, and then asked doubtfully, but what is the trouble I caused? Do you remember the last riot? Zhao Yu pointed out the reason. Ziren, the criminal hiding behind the rioters, he should be targeting you and is testing the truth of the farm. After I leave, you must be careful. Remember, Ben and May are on the farm, and you'll regret it if you make an oversight. Purple Man. Peter's heart skipped a beat, and then he nodded solemnly, I'll be careful. Yeah, Zhao Yu nodded, and his eyes quietly glanced at Harry, who was clumsily practicing boxing, and the three girls Jessica, Mary and Cindy who later came to the farm. Especially staying on Jessica for one more second. Then the voice was neither too loud nor too quiet, and Harry and others could just hear it clearly. The treasure seal on the incense table in front of the futon and the black jade slip are promising. There is an evil soul-devouring demonic skill in the black jade slip, which was learned from and extremely seized from the hands of terrible people. This technique devours people's soul, energy, and soul. If someone with evil intentions gets it, it will be a disaster for countless people. He solemnly said, I originally planned to gradually refine it and then destroy it. However, I have to go out in person for something. I left the treasure seal to suppress the jade slip. You must take good care of it and don't neglect it. Do you understand? When Peter heard this, he asked doubtfully, is it a skill? He couldn't understand that a single skill could abort countless people's disasters, and what could it mean to devour people's essence and soul? Zhao Yu smiled. You have just stepped onto the threshold of cultivation, and there are many things you don't understand. Forget it, I will tell you about it as a teacher. This cultivation method, like my S.H.I.E.L.D. sect, follows the natural and correct path of heaven and earth. However, there is light and darkness in this world. Some skills are extremely evil. The so-called soul-devouring skills, to put it simply, people who practice this skill use it to absorb all the energy of ordinary people, including their souls. To strengthen yourself. If you suck 100 people dry, you will be no worse than you. If you suck 1,000 people dry, you will be able to crush you. If there are billions of people in the world, if they are all sucked dry, Peter, do you understand the horror? After hearing this, Peter suddenly showed a look of horror. So powerful. It's more than amazing. Zhao Yu shook his head. Such a thing cannot be allowed to exist. It would have taken half a month to destroy it, but now that I have something to go out for, you have to take care of it. Peter took a breath and looked at the villa, as if he saw a big devil being suppressed inside. He couldn't help but trembled, and said seriously, Master, don't worry, I will definitely keep it under guard. Zhao Yu gave Peter some detailed instructions and left the farm. By this time, the sun was almost setting below the horizon. Originally, Zhao Yu did not plan to leave the farm in the short term for safety reasons, but since the incident happened at Tony's place, he, as a master, could not ignore it. Although he knew that Tony could escape safely in the end, Zhao Yu still had to intervene. After Zhao Yu left, Peter took Harry and others to practice boxing, guiding them step by step. For Harry, he had the inheritance of skills and know-how in his mind, and he made rapid progress as he practiced. As for the three girls, it was much more difficult. They just followed and practiced the routine moves. But to them, except for Cindy, the other two are probably just playing for fun. Seeing that it was getting dark, Peter exhaled a breath visible to the naked eye and stood up. Harry, Peter asked Harry, who was tired and sweating, to stop and said, that's it for today. Harry wiped his sweat and nodded. I plan to move here early tomorrow morning to make it easier to practice. Peter smiled and said, okay. Let's go together tomorrow and I'll help you. After resting for a while, Harry and the three girls left the farm. Halfway through, they separated one by one and went back to their homes. Jessica got off the Harry's car and walked alone on the deserted and dark streets, her steps a little stiff. Under a streetlight, a figure stood there quietly, and Jessica walked over. The man had his back to the streetlight and was wearing a high-collared black windbreaker, and his face could not be seen clearly. When Jessica came closer, he stretched out his hand, took out a small thing from Jessica's collar, turned around and left. Jessica, on the other hand, had no reaction. He just stood there under the streetlight for a long time. After a long time, he suddenly shuddered, and then a look of panic appeared on his face. He screamed and fell to the ground. After a while, he rolled and crawled, and ran away in a panic. Go. The figure in the high-collared black trench coat did not go away. He kept watching Jessica go away, let out an unknown laugh, turned around and walked through an alley, got into a black car parked in the corner, and drove away. Fire, start, dust-free all the way. The black car passed through Queens like a ghost and finally entered an area on the west shore of Manhattan Island. Like a hand with two sides. As the most prosperous area in New York, Manhattan is bright and bright. But there is a place here that breeds the ultimate evil. This is Hell's Kitchen. The black car entered Hell's Kitchen and stopped in front of a building. The man in a high-collared black trench coat got out of the car and walked into the building. The sturdy black suit standing at the door of the building seemed to have not seen this person, and every black suit was at a loss. The high-collared black trench coat easily passed through the lobby on the ground floor of the building and entered the elevator. Who is it? The luxuriously decorated room seemed a bit dim, and an extremely large, fat, bald middle-aged man was playing chess. It's chess. He has no opponent, so he plays against himself. Hearing the noise, he just said the word, "Who?" when the door opened. The man in the high-collared black trench coat walked in elegantly like a gentleman in the dark. "Kilgrave, don't act like a gentleman, you're so rude." Sitting on the sofa next to the fat bald man was a small bald man. Compared to the big bald man, he was indeed petite. The little bald man was wearing tight black leather pants, a black t-shirt and a denim jacket on his upper body, with a thick necklace hanging around his neck. The most important thing is that there is a mark on his forehead, 3 rings, surrounded by each other, like a target. Lester Kilgrave, who was wearing a high-collar trench coat, let out a mocking laugh, and his eyes fell on the little bald man. As the master, Mr. Kingpin didn't even speak, so who do you think you are? Or, he walked over slowly, want to try my taste? Lester's pupils shrank. Kilgrave, don't challenge my bottom line. I'm not afraid of your smell. Okay. At this moment, the big fat Kingpin slapped his hand on the chessboard. So, Mr. Kilgrave, what kind of good news have you brought me? The news you want, the news about the ghost farm. Kilgrave smiled sinisterly. But Mr. Kingpin, what price are you going to offer? Then it depends on whether your news is valuable. Kingpin picked up a cigar, and an attendant immediately lit it for him. However, after he failed to light it 3 or 5 times, Kingpin slapped the man to the ground. The whole body is twitching, and the air intake is less and the air is out more. But none of the 3 people in the room cared. I'm only slightly interested in that little guy, you should know. Kingpin lit the cigar himself and took a puff. Kilgrave chuckled and took out the little thing from Jessica from his pocket. The micro recorder, I haven't had time to listen to it yet. Mr. Kingpin, are you interested in listening to it first? Kingpin stretched out his hand and gestured. Kilgrave pressed a button somewhere on the micro recorder, and immediately, a clear sound came from it. The treasure seal, the black jade slip, the technique, devouring people's essence and soul, the calamity of countless people. You have to watch it. If you suck 100 people dry, they will be no worse than you. Drain 1,000 people, billions of people in this world, cannot let it exist. Throughout the room, along with the sound from the tape recorder, the 3 people's breathing became heavier one after another. Snapped. Kilgrave pressed hard on the recorder, turning it off, then grabbed it hard in his hands. He looked at Kingpin and Bullseye with vigilant eyes, and all the muscles in his body were tense. Mr. Kilgrave, I didn't expect you to bring me such unexpected news. Kung Fu, haha, it seems that little guy can surpass ordinary people in a short period of time. Kingpin slowly stood up, his huge body carrying such strong pressure that Kilgrave couldn't help but take a step back. At the same time, Bullseye walked around to the other side of Kilgrave without leaving a trace, blocking the way out. It's very valuable. I'm willing to pay 10 million US dollars. How about it? Kilgrave chuckled strangely. Mr. Kingpin, isn't $10 million too little? And, what do you want to do? I'm not afraid of you. Kingpin chuckled. You are too nervous. You have extraordinary power, why should you be nervous? HMPH. Ziren snorted coldly. My power is ineffective against you. Jin Bing, your will is very tenacious and uncontrollable. His eyes were rolling, and he saw that Kingpin and Bullseye were about to pounce on him if he said something wrong. His mind quickly turned, and he suddenly said, Mr. Kingpin, you are too impatient. The Kingpin looked at him. You have to know that information is information, and there is no certainty whether the thing will be obtained or not. The ghost farm is not a Broadway mall. Although the owner of the farm has left, our little hero is still there. And we can't be sure whether that person is what unpredictable means we're left behind. What kind of treasure seal? I don't think Mr. Gingy didn't hear it, right? That person could make that little guy become so powerful in less than 20 days, hee. Kingpin hesitated for a moment, then slowly sat down again. You were right, Mr. Kilgrave. So, what do you think? Cooperate. Ziren gave a sinister smile. Before we get the thing, any conflicts between us are meaningless. As for after we get the thing, Mr. Kingpin, that's a skill. Quote. He pretended mysterious look. You may not understand, but I do. Because of your entrustment, I have been paying attention to that farm for many days. Someone who comes in and out of the farm has been controlled by me. I know them very well. The exercises are like a books or a kind of knowledge that can be read by anyone and is not limited to one person. After we get it, how about we share it? And I know this farm very well, but you don't. We both benefit from cooperation, right? Kingpin pondered for a moment, then nodded to Bullseye who was guarding the exit of the room, and Bullseye returned to his original position. You convinced me, Kilgrave. Kingpin said. This incident was too sudden. We need a plan. Where did that person go? How long will it take to return? How strong is the defense of Ghost Farm? How do we get that thing? Where that person went and how long it took to return depends on you, Mr. Kingpin. Kilgrave breathed a sigh of relief and said, the defense power of the Ghost Farm is very mysterious. Anyone who enters it will be in the illusion. I can't help but return to the place where I came from. I've tried before, but I can't enter. What about the guns? Kingpin's eyes flashed. Kilgrave spread his hands and said, I don't know. You'll know after you try it. Kingpin waved his hand. Mr. Kilgrave, you can go. Kilgrave chuckled. What's the plan? Mr. Kingpin, you won't turn around and leave me alone to take it all yourself, will you? Kingpin laughed. Of course not. As for the plan, I think I can customize it after I collect detailed information first. Is that so? Haha, I hope so. After the purple man left, Bullseye said, Mr. Kingpin, I think we should start first. Kingpin waved his hand. There's no rush. If this is true, then Kilgrave is more anxious than us. We just need to keep an eye on him. As for that farm, it's not simple. Let him step on it first. One step, and then we. Bullseye grinned. Understood. Ziren felt a little anxious, and his steps were no longer gentlemanly. The kind of technique that could devour flesh and blood and soul made his heart tremble. He seemed to see the exciting scene where he was above the world after obtaining that kind of skill, and everyone became his livestock. How wonderful that is. He did not doubt its authenticity. The little guy and the mysterious power guarding the farm, as well as his twisted mind that longed for power, all made him believe it. He took a deep breath and thought to himself, only Kilgrave, I, am qualified to possess such a technique, Kingpin. Humph. He rolled his eyes, looked back at the Kingpin building, turned around, got in the car and left. The next day, Harry moved to the farm. In order to facilitate cultivation, this is inevitable. By this time, Zhao Yu had arrived in Kabul, Afghanistan. He wanted to take action personally and show his face in front of Tony, whether it was out of responsibility as a master or to gradually eliminate the barriers between Tony and Tony. Originally, Zhao Yu did not plan to leave the farm in a short time, but this time it was necessary. He will not let go of any opportunity to make Tony return. After all, he is his great disciple. If they part ways or even turn against each other in the future, it will be a failure for Zhao Yu. Of course, Zhao Yu simply ignored the existence of the tightening curse. A two-pronged approach, one stick and one sweet date, is the way to go. After getting off the plane, Zhao Yu exhaled a thick breath. As a cultivator who has not yet reached the point where he can fly without the gravity of the earth, flying is a hidden danger for him. When I'm on a plane, I always feel empty inside and a sense of crisis. This is not surprising. He had just acquired magic power and did not know any spells. When fighting, he had to stand on the ground. Every punch, every kick, every run and jump, he was borrowing strength from the earth. If you leave the earth, you will be like a rootless tree, and your heart will naturally not be at ease. The moment he got off the plane and set foot on the land of Afghanistan, the long-lost voice of the system finally sounded in Zhao Yu's mind. Main mission Phase 2, become famous. To educate all spirits and save all sentient beings, please become famous first. Within half a month, let at least 20 extraordinary beings, including superheroes and supercriminals, appreciate the power of the host. Mission reward. Chi luck value is 20,000, and a magic weapon. Zhao Yu paused slightly, frowned, and then walked out of the airport. Make a name for yourself. As Zhao Yu walked, he chewed on the content of the mission. As his mind turned, a smile appeared on his lips. It really coincides with each other. After finding a hotel to stay at, Zhao Yu turned on the TV and changed the channel to watch the news while thinking, I don't know if my cheap disciple has been caught. There is also the Mandarin. This character seems to be related to this matter. Quote, Lord Mandarin, well, although my IQ is a bit low, my ability is not bad. Especially those 10 rings are of some value. Maybe they can be smelted into a magic weapon or magic weapon. Even if it is not good enough, I can still extract some good materials. As for the others, Zhao Yu had a change of thought, it can be involved. At this moment, Zhao Yu had many calculations in his mind. To become famous, well, the Mandarin counts as one. While he was thinking about it, the picture on the TV screen finally caught Zhao Yu's attention. Mr. Tony Stark, the world-famous chairman of Stark Industries, was kidnapped by terrorists in the northern region at 11:15 this morning. It is reported that Mr. Tony Stark came to Afghanistan this time to inspect the actual combat effectiveness of Stark Industries' new weapons. The U.S. Embassy has made solemn representations to our government. The government has dispatched multiple search forces, but there is still no news. The U.S. 8th Aircraft Carrier Fleet has dispatched Marines. Zhao Yu laughed when he saw the flashing images on the TV, including the desert, several car fragments, blood stains, and gunpowder smoke. Fortunately, I was prepared, otherwise. A dark cave, a damp prison, and the shadow of a mouse in the corner fleetingly disappears. Tony opened his eyes with difficulty, made a sound in his throat, and finally took a breath. Do not move. A voice sounded, and a blurry face shook in front of Tony. What's wrong with me? Who are you? You should say less now. Mr. Tony, you are seriously hurt. Yes, terrorists. Tony suddenly remembered and struggled to sit up, but his whole body was sore and weak, and he was pushed down again. Although your physical fitness is beyond my expectation, I still have to tell you, Mr. Tony, the fragments of the bomb are near your heart. They are very small fragments. Without instruments, I can't help you take them out. With that, blood circulation, it will invade your heart. I used magnets to temporarily attract it, but this is not a long-term solution. Bomb fragments. Tony took a deep breath. Yes, and it's a bomb produced by Stark Industries. Tony was speechless and choked. Suddenly he laughed at himself and said, I am bringing this upon myself, am I not? Who would have thought? By the way, I'm Ethan. Ethan introduced himself. I met you at a cocktail party at a seminar. But you don't know me. You are the famous Tony Stark. And I am just a down-and-out scholar. I'm really sorry. Tony showed a rare apology. Thank you for saving me. Ethan spread his hands. I just helped you save your life, Mr. Tony. We are still imprisoned. Then this is. Tony's vision became clearer and clearer, and he finally realized that he was in a cage. A cave in the desert. Ethan said. They have heard our conversation. I think that when they know you are awake, someone will come to you soon. When Tony heard this, his heart changed. they asked me for help, otherwise they would have killed me long ago. Ethan, if there is a chance, let's go out together. Thanks, Ethan smiled, but you are still in danger. There are no medicines or necessary medical equipment here. If they ask for something, I'll ask them to bring me what I need. I hope so, Ethan said, but to be honest, Mr. Tony. Call me Tony. Tony interrupted Ethan. Tony, Ethan smiled. I am very shocked by your physical fitness. According to my estimate, you will not wake up until at least tomorrow or even the day after tomorrow. The top special forces may not be able to compare with you. I didn't expect it. You, such an upper-class person, can actually maintain such a strong body. It's really unbelievable. Tony's lips curled up, and he suddenly felt uncomfortable. Physical fitness. For a playboy who plays and plays every night, it is very good to be able to stay healthy. Tony's current physical fitness has a lot to do with a certain person. He thought of the person who controlled him, the person who shamelessly wanted to be his master, and he didn't know whether to be grateful to him or dare to hate him. He originally thought he would die, but when Ethan said this, he attributed all the reasons for his survival to the bodybuilding method of the Chenkin talisman refining chi method. He really hated Zhao Yu, and was not willing to touch it at all. The so-called chi refining method of Chenkin talisman. But the Dharma seal was engraved in his mind and would pop up from time to time, finally arousing his curiosity. Although there was no step-by-step instruction from Zhao Yu, Tony was not an ordinary person after all. With the help of Jarvis, he translated and explained some incomprehensible vocabulary of the method. Speaking of which, he had been practicing the basics of the Chenkin talisman refining chi method for half a month. After half a month, although the progress was not very smooth due to practicing alone, his physical fitness was getting better day by day. The clear feeling that he was getting stronger at any time even made him intoxicated. Intoxicated, disgusted, and entangled, he staggered forward. But he never expected that this technique would save his life. Of course, Tony didn't know that he was one of the protagonists in a future superhero. He didn't know that even if he didn't practice, he wouldn't die. Therefore, the position and image of the Chenkin talisman refining chi method and Zhao Yu in his mind changed slightly at this moment. It's really unbelievable, Ethan explained. Your image in front of the public is not very good. Tony shrugged reluctantly. Playboy, right? Aha, Ethan smiled. Singing and singing every night. Infinite gushing. Tony chuckled. At this moment, the sound of footsteps could be heard clearly. They're coming. Ethan and Tony stopped at the same time. Zhao Yu did not go to Tony immediately. The birth of Iron Man takes time. What Zhao Yu needs is Iron Man, not just a playboy or a rich man, which is meaningless. It would take Tony at least 10 days and a half months to build the first crude armor. It would be bad to rush to get him out and interrupt the birth of Iron Man. What Zhao Yu needs is a new Iron Man who combines talismans and even the art of refining weapons, not just a monk who practices the art of talismans. He even wanted to see the effect of the combination of immortal talismans, weapon refining and technological armor. People need to be saved, and at critical moments. The rescue will only become worthwhile if Tony suffers more. In the next week, Zhao Yu traveled around northern Afghanistan and saw many mercenaries, many gangs, and terrorists, and encountered many armed conflicts, but in the end, no trace of Lord Manchu was found. Zhao Yu was not disappointed either. There are plenty of opportunities to pull Lord Mandarin into trouble. He has already made a plan in his heart. These 7 days are just a matter of leisure and panic, just walking around casually. In the desert, on the top of an appallingly barren mountain with sparse vegetation, Zhao Yu stood facing the wind with his hands behind his hands. Since his cultivation, especially after being possessed by the divine, his mentality has changed a lot. It seems that noble temperament has left some traces on him, and some hidden things of the immortality are affecting him. If a dazed young man suddenly crosses over, it may be due to impulsiveness. Participate in various events, befriend superheroes, even join S.H.I.E.L.D, and more. Before the divine possession, Zhao Yu had similar thoughts. But after the divine possession, his mind quietly changed. All kinds of calculations, chess pieces and chessboards, although not very skilled, but they are easy to pick up. Although I don't know how the calculation will end, at least it will be more beneficial than him running around blindly. In fact, Zhao Yu was not unaware of his changes. He knew in his heart that they were some traces left behind by the divine possession of the immortal Tao, but he knew that this was not a matter of body seizing or other hidden spells. He doesn't reject it. To put it bluntly, if you do things with the sacred mentality of the immortal way, you will not be troubled by all kinds of troubles, and you will not be easily lost at the beginning of entering the Tao. That's not who I am, but I need that mentality right now. Zhao Yu said silently. The sun is about to set on the horizon. This scenery reminds Zhao Yu of a poem. The lonely smoke is straight in the desert, and the sun is setting in the long river. Such wild scenery cannot be seen except in the desert. Zhao Yu turned over his hand and took out a paper crane. My good disciple, let me see where you are. Search the sky and the earth, go. The paper crane flew up like a swift, circled around Zhao Yu, and then shot away. Zhao Yu moved his feet, as if he was strolling in a leisurely manner, and he dodges 100 meters away. After a few dodges, he follows the paper crane and disappears into the desert wilderness. That paper crane is a tracing paper crane. When Zhao Yu forcibly accepted Tony as his disciple, he was already prepared for today. He took a piece of Tony's hair and kept it without leaving any trace. Now you just need to make a tracking talisman, fold it into a paper crane, wrap your hair in it, and use it as a guide. No matter where Tony is within 100 miles, he will not be able to escape the search of the paper crane. As for the way of talismans, the chi refining method of the talismans of the universe, Zhao Yu is also quite involved. Zhao Yu now has some basic talismans at his fingertips. Following the paper crane, I climbed over barren mountains and crossed the desert, and finally arrived at a valley hidden in the desert. The paper crane circled over the valley and plunged down. Is this right here? In Zhao Yu's extremely sharp senses, everything in the valley was clearly presented in his heart. He moved his feet and stood on the cliff of the valley looking down. There are several simple houses in the valley leaning against the rock walls, and there are about 20 or 30 strange smells among them. Next to the house, there is a cave, and 2 people are guarding the entrance of the cave with firearms. There are still 7 or 8 people hiding in some hidden places inside and outside the valley. They are secret sentries. The paper crane was very fast, and it plunged straight into the cave. With just a flash, he rushed in. It was dusk now, the entrance to the cave was backlit, and the paper crane was small and silent, so the 2 people guarding the entrance of the cave did not find it. The paper crane flew into the cave, took a few turns and took a few breaths to reach the outside of the cell where Tony and Ethan were held, and then turned into a tiny spark that burned out in the blink of an eye. What? Tony felt as if something flashed, but although there was light in the cave, it was still dim and no trace was found. Then he put it aside and devoted all his attention to the work at hand. The terrorists asked Tony to build a powerful missile for them. Tony took this opportunity to ask for this and that, showing that he bullied the terrorists and made his first armor under the noses of the terrorists. The terrorists, without knowing it, are looking forward to the missiles that are about to gain great power. Tomorrow, Tony whispered to Ethan, we can escape tomorrow. Ethan didn't have high expectations. This armor is too crude, maybe. Give it a try, Tony said. They are pushing more and more urgently. If we don't take action, our chances will be less and less. Ethan, although the US government will not give up on me, and Pepper will find a way to rescue me, but hope can't all be pinned outside. As he spoke, he sighed slightly. Suddenly it occurred to me that if I had the ability of that devil, I would probably have left this ghost place long ago, right? No, you won't be caught at all. Looking at the armor that was about to take shape, Tony cheered up slightly and thought to himself, my technology will not be worse than your ability. Zhao Yu stood quietly on the cliff of the valley for an hour, 2 hours, until it was completely dark. I looked up at the dark night, there were no stars and moon, it was just a dark moon and a high wind. He took a few steps and entered the valley. The dark night seemed to be integrated with the night, and there was no sound of wind as he walked. Hearing the 2 guards at the entrance of the cave cursing, they ducked into the cave as if no one was around. Outside the cell, not far away, Zhao Yu stood in the darkness. There were 2 other people guarding the side of the cell. They were squatting together smoking under the dim light. Zhao Yu ignored them and only looked through the iron bars of the cell to see that the cells were still busy. The 2 people looked at the crude armor that was hidden in the dark corner, and finally a smile appeared on his face. Very good. He nodded happily. The very low conversation between Tony and the two also reached his ears. Tomorrow, when they urge me, I will take action. It was Tony's voice. Try to destroy as much of their vitality as possible. I hope this armor won't let us down. Ethan forced a smile. No. Tony held his chest and said in a serious tone, I have never let anyone down. You're so confident. Zhao Yu couldn't help but smile as he listened to their low-pitched conversation. Tony was a man with many shortcomings and many redeeming qualities. At least he never despaired when faced with a desperate situation. Tomorrow. Zhao Yu pondered for a moment, then turned and left. In Zhao Yu's view, only by appearing at the most critical time can the importance be shown. No matter how much Tony hated him before, Zhao Yu knew that things would change after this time. The most important thing is that the Iron Man he is looking forward to will be born. After leaving the cave, Zhao Yu's heart moved. Suddenly there was some movement under his feet. When the terrorists were alert, he had disappeared without a trace. Footprint, not combat boots. We must keep Stark behind bars. We will double the number of patrols and surveillance tonight. Zhao Yu cheated his eldest disciple without leaving any trace. According to the plot in the movie in his memory, Tony escaped from the prison with almost no danger, but in this case, how could Zhao Yu's importance be reflected? How can we lead Tony's mind to the path of talismans? This is called having to do it. Being a master is hard. Sunset and sunrise. When Zhao Yu, who was sitting on a desolate mountaintop, opened his eyes, the sun in the east had already risen half a foot. Vigorous vitality spreads all over the earth, and the whole world is full of vitality. He stood up, patted his clothes that were not stained with dust at all, and looked up at the valley not far away. Then Shirin walked towards the valley. Tony didn't sleep all night. Last night, he was making final adjustments to the crude armor. Ethan also looked haggard. Without his help, Tony would not have been able to create the armor so quickly. This armor has his share of the credit. It's daybreak, you should get ready. Ethan looked outside the cell. Tony nodded and signaled to Ethan, be safe. The same as you. About half an hour later, the terrorist leader came to the cell with 7 or 8 people, fully armed. Mr. Stark, where are the missiles I want? The leader had a stubble on his face and a cold and stern look on his face. He spoke loudly before he even got close. Where's Stark? When he got closer, he saw that only Ethan was in the cell, but Tony was not there. His expression changed, and he suddenly pulled out the pistol from his waist. With a click, the bullet was loaded, and the muzzle was pointed at Ethan. In an instant, other terrorists behind him also moved at the same time. At this moment, in the corner of the cell, a black steel armor suddenly pounced on like a wall. Suddenly there was a burst of gunfire. The clanging sound was like exploding beans, and when the tongues of fire were spitting out, only the sparks flew out. Bullets were flying throughout the cell. Ethan had already lied down, using the steel armor to protect himself in front of him. The armor stretched out its huge arms to grab the iron bars and tear them open. With a wave of its iron arms, 2 or 3 terrorists spurted blood and flew backwards. They hit the cave wall with several thuds and landed motionless. Quick, 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 exit the cave, exit the cave. Bazooka, prepare the bazooka. Blow this fool up. Within the armor package, Tony hummed, with a sneer on his lips. Although the armor was unskilled to control and the weapon system was extremely crude and had many shortcomings, Tony was still confident of dealing with these terrorists in front of him. Just like a giant, although the armor moves not fast, it is not slow either. One iron arm stretches out, spitting out fiery tongues of fire, and one iron arm sweeps across, beating the terrorists back again and again. In just a moment, all the terrorists in the cave escaped except for the dead ones. Tony stopped. Ethan, I'm here, I'm still alive. Ethan got up, looking relieved. It's too early to be happy now. Tony said, you know the weakness of this armor. The joints are exposed and can be easily broken. It was too sudden before and they didn't react. And there is only one small missile. If we can't defeat them, we will, that's it. After a pause, Tony said, I think they are aiming at the hole with a rocket launcher now. What to do? What should we do? There is a saying in the East that when we meet on a narrow road, the brave will win. We can't stay in there forever. If they blow up the entrance to the cave, we will never be able to get out. Follow me, Ethan. Tony took a breath. I hope God bless you. Zhao Yu stood not far away, watching a simple armor rush out of the cave, followed by the sound of gunfire and bullets flying in random directions. A shuttle-like rocket dragged a long tail towards the armor. Cold sweat broke out on Tony's forehead. He dodged when he had no chance to escape. The rocket suddenly exploded not far behind him. He controlled the armor and rushed towards the crowd of terrorists with several strides. The flamethrower in his iron arm sprayed flames that were more than 10 feet long, forcing the terrorists to retreat. One unlucky guy was accidentally ignited by the flames, and his body quickly caught fire. He screamed and rolled on the spot, and was trampled to death by Tony. "Hit the joints! Hit the monster's joints!" The leader of the terrorists screamed, holding a submachine gun and shooting hard at the joints of the armor. Tony's heart skipped a beat when he saw that they had caught the weak point of the armor, but it was difficult to dodge. This armor is too crude and its flexibility is far from enough. He gritted his teeth and looked at the leader in the distance and the rocket launcher next to him that was about to be launched again. He raised his arm and launched the only missile. "Who are you?" Ethan looked at the man standing in front of him in surprise, and was horrified when he saw that he actually grabbed a bullet with his bare hands. Catching bullets with bare hands. Is this a myth? Ethan was stunned. Zhao Yu opened his palm, and a bullet hit the ground. A scarlet dot appeared in his palm, and then quickly disappeared. "Firearms can no longer cause harm to me." He moved his fingers and pondered in his heart, "but large thermal weapons can." The strength of the second-level mortal body should not be worse than the Hulk in the initial state, and the recovery ability is also not bad, but not as good defensively. Zhao Yu has a special physique and his recovery ability is actually very powerful. "Your name is Ethan." Zhao Yu turned his back to Ethan and said calmly. "You know me." Ethan wondered, "But I don't remember seeing you." Zhao Yu shook his head. "You haven't seen me, and I haven't seen you. But I know you, and that's enough. And you." Zhao Yu pointed to the armor that was raging in the distance and said, "I am his master." "Master, father." This is an Eastern saying. Ethan actually knew. He was surprised and said, "You are Tony's master. But your age." "I'm older than you." Zhao Yu smiled and suddenly said, "Look." Ethan looked up and his expression changed. "Save him quickly. The terrorists in the valley have been almost wiped out by Tony. Although the armor has been damaged in many places, it is still generally intact." Tony was relieved at this time, but unexpectedly a rocket suddenly flew from the side. He clearly remembered that he had destroyed the terrorists' rocket launcher before. The man reacted, but the armor couldn't. "Oh shit." A bitter look appeared on Tony's face. "I'm going to die." Zhao Yu finally moved. As he turned his hand, a jade talisman appeared in his palm. A ray of mana surged out of his palm, wrapped around the jade talisman, and shot out with a snap of his fingers. "Go." The jade talisman turned into a bolt of lightning, several times faster than a rocket. It hit the armor with a snap and exploded, turning into a golden light curtain that instantly enveloped the armor. Immediately, there was a loud bang. Flames, smoke, and dust mixed and rose, and vaguely, a golden eggshell was as stable as a mountain in it. Ethan let out a long breath, and his whole body went limp. Tony closed his eyes and waited for death. Hearing the booming explosion in his ears, Tony calmed down. He planned to imagine what heaven would look like and prepared to ascend to heaven, but he always failed to ascend. It took a while to realize, "I'm not dead." Opening his eyes, he saw a golden light curtain as thin as cicada wings through the eye sockets on the armored face. He was confused and didn't know why. "Tony." Ethan's voice came from behind, and the armor turned around with difficulty and saw Ethan and a person he never wanted to see, as well as the terrorist leader who had just been thrown at his feet. "It's you." Tony screamed. "What are you doing here?" "Tony," Ethan said quickly. "He saved you." Tony came out of the armor with a dark face and waited for Zhao Yu fiercely. "I don't want anyone to save me." Zhao Yu smiled lightly, clearly seeing the hatred quietly receding in his eyes under his hateful face. He couldn't help but smile in his heart. Then he said calmly, "You are my master's eldest disciple, so my master naturally wants to save you." "Ha," Tony sneered, but couldn't say anything else. Zhao Yu turned his face and looked at Ethan. "Mr. Ethan, I have something to say to Tony, can you?" Ethan nodded in understanding. "Please." Then he walked to the side. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.